Going live right now. All right, go Spencer.
All right, welcome to the Avon 7 podcast. I'm your host Spencer, and join me here tonight is...
I'm Andrew.
I'm Bronson.
Matt.
Kevin!
Okay.
And tonight we're going to be discussing The Great Pretender. So before we get into that, Andrew, I think you have a few things that you wanted to say.
Yep. First, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody tuning into our podcast tonight. We really appreciate it. We have a couple things that we want to share with the audience. First of all, if you're new to Advent 7, if you're new to our project, new to our channel, please check out some of our other projects we've worked on. There will be links in the description below. We have an article that our resident comic book writer Julian wrote recently over the Batman DC fandom trailer. Please go check that out. He wrote like a full detailed analysis over it, things to look out for, and predictions about the upcoming movie with Robert Pattinson next year. We also have other podcasts we do. There should be a link to our Shokugeki no Soma retrospective podcast that we did a couple months ago. That will also be in the description. And then the last thing is, that's right. It's my Rent a Girlfriend is Killing Me video. Please check that out if you haven't yet. It's a 6-minute video, and it's me detailing all the reasons why I hate that show and why I can't stop watching it. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get on to the Great Pretender podcast.
All right, The Great Pretender. Where do we start with The Great Pretender?
Laurent is best girl. This is the ultimate fact.
There is debate on that. So.
That's true. Okay, he's got
especially in the flashback.
He's got fantastic hair. This is true, but
Abby's more likely to break my ribs though, so I'm gonna have to go with her.
This is true.
Just for overview's sake, we'll just kind of describe what The Great Pretender is. The Great Pretender is a story about con men. Confidence men. And their
women.
quote-unquote adventures and ne'er-do-well around the world.
You son of a bitch.
We open up our show with one Makoto Edamura, or as the blonde asshole would like to say, Edamame.
Edamame is an amazing character.
He's great. No, I mean, he's the straight man. Every con heist show needs the straight man.
Yeah, he's our eyes and ears throughout the entire show. He's like basically the person that we're most likely to kind of put ourselves in.
And all with perfect English.
All with perfect English.
Okay,
No. Guys identify with Edamame.
I do want to start off by asking you guys something. What was the deal with the beginning of the English dub? Because when I tuned in for the first episode on Netflix, I thought I was watching the Japanese dub because they speak in Japanese.
Yeah.
And
so that was a directorial decision, like a creative decision that was made by the English dubbers to actually maintain the original Japanese audio for the opening bit before they switch over completely to English. Because there's a point in time, for all of you that have actually watched it, you all know, but there's a spot where it basically freeze frames and says everything will now be translated in audio. So
there's a happy little ding to go.
There's a happy little ding where the transition happens over. If you're in the sub, you'll go from very Japanese accented English over to just straight Japanese. And then in our English dub, we went from hearing some Japanese with some heavily Japanese accented English to just straight English as you would expect it, at least here in America.
Mm-hmm. And I do like I like Edamame's voice actor. He has a pretty good voice.
I think this is one of the few times in recent memory where I've been able to say, yes, the dub is definitely worth watching, and I'm
The dub is
so
excellent.
happy that I'm able to say that.
I can agree.
Yeah. I tried to watch it in the sub, and then I jumped over to the dub, and I was like, you know what? This is a show that I can watch entirely in the dub for once.
So did we all
which is
watch
kind of nice.
the dub? Is that what everyone watched?
I
I
sure
watched
hope
it.
so. Yeah, I think everybody watched the dub.
How often
I
does
would
that
have been the
happen?
odd one out if I knew everyone was watching dub.
Now we have no information on the other side, but we can tell you the dub is very good.
The dub is extremely well done. I was very pleased with just
I will
how
say,
how intense everyone's voices were and how well they seemed to fit. And then
Oh yeah.
just not even just for the beginning of the show, but throughout the show, we're not even just stuck with English. We frequently have points in time where we'll have characters talking in other languages, such as Chinese or French.
Yeah, there was never a moment where I was like taken aback by how misplaced a character's voice was. It was definitely well casted throughout.
Yeah.
Totally
Yeah.
agree.
It blended together really well how everybody was speaking different languages depending on where they were. Made a lot of sense with the setting. So yeah, this is one of those really unique situations. And they had to produce a good dub because the setting, the story necessitated it. So
It's a truly international show, and just how many places they visited.
I saw it was
There is-
part of the writer's intention when I saw in an interview he was talking about that. In addition, I know that it first debuted in the States. I think maybe just the first episode, I'm not sure, but they clearly had an international audience in mind when they started doing it.
Ed, was that your phone I just heard?
It was, I've now silenced it.
That is amazing. No, I absolutely love that ringtone.
Age
So-
of Empires.
So that sound, it played the other night when I was watching season 2 with Ed, like I was helping him
Yeah.
catch up a little bit. And it was the exact scene where they're at that like Japanese like Yakuza lady's office and Abby has to strip. The second she strips and then she stands in front of the lady's desk, it just goes "Brrr, durr, durr, durr." And so I thought it was intentional. I asked him
Has
later,
on
like,
soundtrack.
It was royalty.
it was
I'm
perfect.
just sitting here with a soundboard, you know. I was about to hit the ooga.
I have to say that
laugh
of
track.
all of the jobs, I think my least favorite was probably the first one. Like, frankly,
First
Oh, I
one,
love
huh?
that one. I don't know.
The first
It was
one
really
was
stressful
good.
compared to the others. But
You said jobs.
yeah, of the jobs of the different things
Right,
that they
the
did,
chapters.
I think chapter 1, I think that was actually my least favorite, just because like I don't know, the beginning of the show was kind of rocky for me, maybe because I switched from the sub to the dub, like I kind of lost a little bit of interest, and it took me a minute to get back to it, but
Mhm.
like I just wasn't like super grabbed. But then once I got through the first job, I was in it, like I just kept watching.
I want to say, I think
I may be crazy though. I may
There
just be.
could be multiple factors to that.
I want to say that one thing that I think that the show does really well, and that is that the tension, the stress of the situation, is always alleviated before it gets to be too much. But if it ever was too much, I think it's probably that first case where like the whole time they're like walking the tightrope edge.
Yeah.
Whereas in like later ones, it's like maybe something goes wrong for a little while, but we don't want to exhaust our audience, so we're gonna ease it out.
Things just keep getting worse progressively throughout that first case. You're like, how?
Oh yeah,
how
they really
is-
do.
How are they
Yeah.
going to get out of this? They give them the recipe. It's like,
then
all
you
right,
find
sweet.
out-
Make your own Sakura magic. And then the gang dude's like, no, I went to the sushi restaurant once and it was never the same when they changed chefs. You can make the Sakura magic. It's like, oh no. Oh no.
After the first job, we find out that Laurent is mastermind, so like truly a mastermind, and so it's no longer you're no longer wondering if they actually die because you know Laurent is magical.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's what is
out-
lost
do
after
anything.
the first job is the real sense of fear, because you're like, oh, they're just gonna.
I will say that the tension, although there is still tension in the later chapters, it is less. but it's replaced by the wonder of how they're gonna get out of it, or like,
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
they still sprinkle in the like something in the plan goes wrong because of edamame.
Yeah,
Of course.
I was
So
gonna
it's
say,
like,
yeah, with
it-
the other
he's-
jobs.
He's the chaos factor that keeps the tension high, I think.
Laurent was
I
magical
think
without
that
even being a
was-
wizard.
I think that was one of my biggest highlights of just the show, is just getting to see the heists play out, how things go according to plan, how they kind of string things along, where things kind of start screwing up, and then ultimately how they still come out on top somehow. And when they just pull the curtain back and just reveal how everything
Yeah.
happened with the first case, how it turns out that the quote unquote FBI woman was in on it all along. It was Cynthia, a character that we
Yeah.
I
would
wasn't
go
sure
on
if
to
this was
see
going to
for
be
the
a
rest of the entire
spoiler-free
series.
podcast, but now I know.
Hmm?
I said I wasn't sure if this was supposed to be a spoiler-free podcast, but now I know.
Oh yeah, no, we're gonna delve into it
Oh,
for
no,
people
alright,
listening right now. Yeah, this is heavy spoiler.
Oh.
we hope
By the
we
way,
hope
you
you
spoiled
watch
one.
the show.
If you jumped into this just being like, oh, they might be spoiler free, and we're just like, Cynthia, they don't die. Then it's just
We're talking
fine.
about people dying already early on in the first case. I don't think that we need to worry about this not feeling spoilerific. But yes, if you're aware, this is going to be spoilerific. This
Dorothy
is your
lived.
one warning.
If
It's
we
come
haven't
late.
already ruined the show and you plan on watching it, leave
You
now.
should still watch it,
Or just hang
because of
out.
the excitement.
Just hang out with us now because you've already delved this far. You've already entered the rabbit hole. May as well just hang out with
And-
us.
Frankly, I really enjoyed how each case kind of dove further into a character, like how
Yeah.
each case we got to peel back more of the layers.
Oh,
And
yeah,
that was really satisfying for me, being like, all right, like moving on to the next case and being like, and wondering who the next connection was, like who we were going to get to see more of, and why they were the way they were.
Yeah, I
Of course,
think
we gotta
the
take
show really
Laurent
got
for
going in
Yeah.
second arc when
Yeah,
we
the
got
first
on
case
character
was
backstory.
really all about just kind of getting edamame and Edamura. Now I'm doing
We're
it
calling
too.
him Edamame for the
Edamura.
whole stream.
You're a bad
Um,
person.
Just getting him involved with the entire organization and all the plots and everything.
Yeah,
And then
against his will.
introducing all of our characters. Yeah, with
Repeatedly.
Cynthia and Abigail. And then the second case gave us more of a focus on Abby and some of her past. And then finally, case 3 being Cynthia and her past in France and with her artist boyfriend.
Douchebag
And then-
artist boyfriend.
Oh,
I will say the music
Eventual
I think that
douchebag
he-
artist
the
boyfriend.
music
He leveled
choices in case 3, the art case, that I don't know, that one probably hit me the hardest with their music choices and stuff. I was just
That's
like, man,
fantastic choice.
this was really good.
Uh,
I
oh,
I
yeah.
really enjoyed that arc because of the music.
Same, dude. It's my favorite arc.
It definitely had the most emotion to it.
Yeah. And then case 4 had more of a section delving into Laurent's past, and then kind of also
I mean,
a little
Section
bit
4
of
just kind
Edamura.
of unfolded
Yeah.
the path
Ooh.
of the entire unit, frankly. Like all the
Yeah.
side characters you
Yeah.
wondered about, they all kind of got folded into part 4.
I'm gonna say chapter 4 like is the culmination of all like there were sprinkled hints and like that's when the pieces were definitely put together.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
really interesting that the case 4 was part of second season, and I worry like if they hadn't got a second season, there's so much that just wouldn't have led to anything.
Well,
Like the ending
second
sequence.
Season, but
Oh yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
part
I'd
part
say
2
like
of
even
original season.
without season 2 like or case 4 like it wasn't left in a bad place.
No, but there's just like the entire ending sequence is like blatantly about the original crew and about
Mhm.
Laurent and Dorothy, and that's clearly the Great Pretender song is clearly Laurent in this usage, missing her, and it's just like if we never got to know who Dorothy is or anything like that, just be like, what? No,
That would have been pretty funny. Also, I don't know how I feel being a person from Kansas thinking about how they used a lot of Wizard of Oz terminology. We got Dorothy, we got Oz. I was just kind of like, I don't know if I'm a fan.
I'll be honest with you, I did not put that together until just now.
I didn't figure that out either.
Which also the Great Pretender
I thought that
is
was
also
just kind of
another.
obvious, but okay.
The Great Pretender also refers to the Wizard of Oz, by the way.
Yeah.
That's another terminology. For
I
him.
didn't.
Like I got with the Oz the Wizard, I got that part, but for some reason
Yeah.
Dorothy just flew straight over my head.
Oh, same.
Well then,
Maybe because Dorothy was just such a like
Wild
stray
card.
from yeah, like her
wow.
character was just so different from the Wizard of Oz Dorothy that like your mind just built a barrier.
Why are so many Japanese people weebs for the Wizard of Oz? I feel like we
Why
get
are
these
so many
references.
Japanese? Why do I learn more about Irish history and folklore from the Japanese than I ever did in school in America? Okay.
First of all, American schools are not schools.
We teach about America.
Yeah, we just teach about how America's won every war ever,
Totally.
Even the ones we weren't
Sheer
in.
force of an
and how we
evil.
were always the good guys. That's American.
Never the bad guys.
Yes.
That's a communist lie. Keep that out of your mouth.
We have the grace of the eagle god at our backs.
Oh,
The Eagle God? I don't know if I know his name.
Nobody does.
Dorothy's design was really striking. I really enjoyed it.
It was
Oh,
definitely
God.
the most striking out of everyone. Like the most, just like,
Different.
what's the term I'm trying to look. She stuck out like a sore thumb, like wherever you went. Like it was very obvious where she was.
Yeah, and I think it's very
Everyone
intentional.
else can kind
Such
of
a
blend
magnetic
in.
personality. The
don't
character
know,
designer is
Laurent
the same
sticks out
guy as
pretty heavily.
Fooly Cooley and like Die
Oh
Buster.
my gosh.
Um,
I never finished or really watched Fooly Cooley, I'll be honest.
Kevin,
It's
you
just
get
like-
the hell out of here. Oh my God.
It's
You- Andrew.
That is like my number one favorite show. What's wrong with you?
Are you kidding me? How are you supposed to follow anything that's going on?
There's
don't
layers
get
to
it
it.
started.
You
Don't get
rewatch
it
it.
started.
Layers? There's layers. Yeah, you know what has
Kevin's-
layers? An onion, not Fooly Cooley.
Hey,
That's
you know what else has
insanity.
layers?
Don't do it.
All right.
Anyway,
This
she got
is the
some of that guy
podcast about the Great
energy as well.
Pretender. We're gonna get back on track here.
I was gonna say Dorothy has some of that Gynax energy to me. I don't know, like big bright eyes and everything. And
Well, her character's got a lot of contrasts. Like her hair and her eyes and her lips are all very, very brightly colored compared to a lot of the other characters.
just this show in general is so much contrast.
Yeah, that was something that I want to kind of delve into right now, since we're talking about
Please, let's do it.
Real
visuals.
quick. I want to provide my hot take number one of the evening.
Oh, do
I despise Dorothy's character design.
What?
Like every
You
time I
despise
saw Dorothy on screen, I was like, oh, I can't look at her.
What?
And-
Even with the white
What?
hair? Jeez, Andrew.
Because normally I dig white
What a
hair
take.
and I dig dark skin, but it was her bangs. The way that her bangs were high cut like that and the arc that they make.
Not a bangs
I-
guy, really?
Committed fashion
I
crimes,
am
huh?
a bangs guy when they're lower, but those bangs were so high that every time I saw her forehead, I'm like, I can't do it.
They stay
Those
out of
bangs
her eyes.
go all the
She's
way
not
up.
Like hide behind her hair character. She's in your face, extreme extrovert. Man.
My
It's
eyes would just drift to the,
solid,
the
bro.
lower hand corner of the screen because I'm like, I can't. It
I
just
think
bothers me
What?
so
that
much.
I can understand
look at
your
their
aversion.
My
to,
bangs are up here.
I think I can understand your aversion to Dorothy's character design, mainly just because, as far as her character design is concerned, she doesn't really fit anywhere else in the rest of the world that we have been shown. Everyone else, more or less, fits in with the backgrounds. It doesn't matter if it's Edamura, Laurent, Abby, Cynthia, any one of our three targets. They all seem to fit with the area that we're being shown.
There's the
And
older
everyone kind of
population.
feels kind of like a somewhat like believable character, like someone that you would actually see in real life. Dorothy is not one of them.
She's
Yeah,
very
she's
much
not
a
supposed to
larger
be.
than life character. Yeah,
She's the
exactly. Yeah.
space cadet of the group.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like Dorothy, she sets the philosophy that everybody still operates by to this point. So like I don't know like which con men and women were in the group before her, but she's kind of like the OG one as far as we're concerned. So yeah,
I
she
think the only
definitely
one who
stands
ever
out.
broke her rules was Edamame or Edamura.
What
Yeah,
rule did he
definitely.
break?
Well, he didn't actually break it, but when he shot his dad, like he attempted to break the no killing rule.
He did it without knowing that it was part of the plan.
That's
He
true.
intended to kill his dad, even if it
So-
didn't turn out that way.
So he
So, like, he's
technically
the
did
only
break
one
the
who broke the rules.
Man, I have to say, for that case, they were really putting a lot of trust in the fact that I can't remember her name, but the Yakuza woman was gonna hand Edinburgh the gun. You know?
Yo,
He's the Wizard of Oz. What?
He
course
just
he's
knew,
gonna
bro.
play how he
backing
wants.
up from
All
that.
according to
We'll get to conversation about just plot details in general, but I kind of want to steer us back over towards just the artistry of the
Good.
show in general.
Mhm.
I have so much to say about this.
and I want us to just kind of talk about what we thought about the just overall background art of the series, because it's very striking, because it's not like super detailed, but it's a I don't know if impressionist is the word I want to use.
I was trying to find the right words to talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, there is an impressionist aspect to it where, you know, the colors that you would be putting on the canvas if you were to paint one of these are not at all representative of reality. They're not where the lines are necessarily drawn all the time.
Mhm.
But I think it's, in some ways, it's like, I don't know. It's very pop arty. I tried to find out, like, I looked into some interviews. They talk about one of the artists that they based, whose work they based these backgrounds on, the look of it on. And it was someone named Brian Cox, who appears to be an unknown. I cannot find any footprint of this guy online whatsoever. Personally, the backgrounds remind me a lot of, what's the dude's name? He did album covers for a lot of like jazz fusion, Japanese jazz fusion in the 80s. I wrote his name down here somewhere.
Hideki Naganuma?
No, Aizen Suzuki. He did a bunch of jazz fusion album covers. And it has that sort of like where they draw the highlights and there's like a line around the highlight and it's just like the saturation and contrast is just cranked to maximum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of contrast in the backgrounds for this show. The colors are very bright and they stand out. It's simplistic, but it also creates that sense that this isn't quite reality. And I don't know if it's intentional or not, but it kind of makes me think, you know, these con men and women, they don't really live in the same world as us anyways. So
I agree
this
with
is
that.
their world.
And I think on the note of jazz and the music, I think the music and the artwork definitely go hand in hand. Like,
oh, absolutely.
It feels like the artwork itself definitely plays off of the jazz music influence that we get, especially in that first case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think pretty much all the music in the show is either jazz or like these like Radwimps-esque ballads.
Oh yeah, there's a little bit of Radwimps in there, isn't it? No wonder
It's not
I like the
literally
music.
Radwimps, but it just gives me that same vibe.
Well, I will say, like, the song from the London arc, that's a little like Weathering With You music. They had some songs in there, similar vibe, because Weathering With You was like a romance film. Yeah, I could totally see that.
I think it's called Love or something, featuring Quincy. I was looking this up. Apparently, Quincy is like P. Diddy's stepson.
What?
Yeah, apparently. I'm not 100% sure on that. I don't know a lot about music, but I stumbled across that.
Man, like these anime studios, how are they doing this?
I don't know, man. Everybody's got somebody who likes anime, and then they're like, "Oh, I'll reach out," and they're like, "Yes, of course. Anything to get us more in the public eye, please."
It sounds like I don't know a lot about the funding of the show, but it seems like they probably had Netflix checks to write too.
Oh yeah, totally. I feel like the dub is evident that this show had good budget. You know, it had that Netflix budget.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just Netflix has some nuts money to just play with. Like, if you've seen the Bash Brothers Experience on Netflix, can't recommend it enough. You know that they have too much money and don't know what to do with it.
I going back to the music. it's almost impossible for me to watch the opening and not think of Cowboy Bebop with the jazz, the wailing saxophone, the like really present cymbal rolls, and the plane doing the like loop de loop. It feels very intentional.
When that opening played for me the first time, I think it was either at the end of the first episode or at the beginning of the second episode. When it started playing, like, I knew that this was just going to be something that I really, really enjoyed, just because it's got that vibe that I just really like of just old heist movies.
Yeah, have you ever seen The Sting, 1973?
I don't think I've seen that one. No.
Okay, great film. It won a bunch of Academy Awards and stuff, and it's about a bunch of people who set up a fake casino in order to scam a mobster, which just like I was thinking about it the entire time while I was watching this show.
It definitely fits
familiar.
the Kasano case, doesn't it?
Yeah, you should definitely watch it if you haven't. It's a great time. Especially if you love the show, it's just more of this.
All right,
yeah,
that's
they
going on the list then.
they literally set up a fake casino for the air race arc.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a semi-common trope.
That's fair. Yeah.
And also, I will say the one thing I didn't like about the last heist, the one thing I didn't like was they didn't need to build that hotel on another island. Like, when they put everybody to sleep, they could have just taken the money and left, is all I kept thinking.
It was total overkill. But
I guess putting them on the island kept them out of contact with anybody, so there could be no retribution. Was my only thought.
They just,
But at the same time, I was like,
Laurent got to fake poison the Chinese dude for his revenge.
Yeah, Laurent needed his revenge. They needed to fake Edamame's death. They had to send the video to the chair lady's son to.
That way, yeah. So it's not just stealing it, but they get in legal trouble too, and all that.
Yeah, they had to like make it like they had to tie up the loose ends and the like stuff we didn't see after.
they also wanted to show him they absolutely won in just every conceivable fashion. Just flex as hard as possible.
It really was just massive flexing. With the amount of access that they had to them, they totally could have just drugged them after the cash had been made and the check had been written. They totally could have just drugged them like they did and then just ran. This was all about one-upping them and just really laying it on them. And as far as Edamura was concerned, trying to get that one last chance at pulling the wool over on Laurent, which
can you blame
I feel like there should have been a better way of doing this.
Are we gonna get into the fourth arc now? Like, are we gonna?
I think we'll get back around to the fourth arc.
Okay, because I got
jump over to the fourth arc.
I got hot take number 2 on that.
Oh God.
I might too. We'll see.
So then, what are we looping back around to?
We're gonna loop back around just to talking about. We'll go back to
more,
case 2.
Overarching themes we should talk about before actually getting into each case.
The theme of gotcha. Can never escape gotcha, even in my fucking con artist anime. It sucks. I don't want to play Fate Go. Leave me alone.
I kind of want to talk about the writer, who I only finished the show last night, and I was just like diving down rabbit holes because I really love this show so much. It really clicked with me. But the writer is Ryota Kosawa, who I had never heard of before this, but I guess he's mildly famous in Japan. He does a lot of dramas and stuff like that. And he actually wrote a like live action drama called The Confidence Man JP. That's the same thing as this show. I just got done watching the first episode before we started here. And the main character is a Japanese guy who keeps getting pulled into these heists, even though he wants to leave. He keeps getting tricked into like involving himself in them again.
Well, that sounds familiar.
He totally took his own show and turned it into an anime.
He really did. He just gave it a more international cast.
Perfect.
The main girl is like Dorothy, like on the nose in a lot of ways.
Formulaic writing at its finest, man.
Maybe that's why Dorothy stands out.
Maybe.
She's from she's from live action world.
Actually, from another universe.
She transcended into the 2D.
Transcended.
3D going to 2D. That's a different direction.
I would call that transcending. Goodbye, 3D world. I have no use for you anymore.
You see the background
2D girls, here I come.
That was beautiful. I want to live there. Jeez.
Yeah, every
Why do they even go bother to see the Aurora Borealis? Have they looked around?
God, that just reminds me, like when I was watching the episode with Ed, and he's like, "Oh, it's Aurora Borealis. I can't wait to see it in person someday." I'm like, dude, you just want to see it in person for the Simpsons meme.
I mean, I want to see it in person because it sounds incredible and beautiful, but that doesn't mean that when I'm there, I'm not going to go, Aurora Borealis, this time of year, this part of the country?
In my kitchen?
Localized in your kitchen? Yep. Can I see it? No.
Oh, Trey.
What does Trey say? Wait, so
is this an isekai?
yeah. Oh my God, Great Pretender's really an isekai all along.
Oh
Part of what I
gosh.
enjoyed about this,
Like the backgrounds.
I love isekai. I read a ton of isekai. I'm isekai trash. I wrote a big long article about how much isekai I read. But part of what I liked about this is that it didn't feel like it was following a lot of the same tropes that we've been seeing in anime lately. Maybe I'm just watching the wrong shows, but this really felt like it was inspired by stuff outside of anime and really felt like a breath of fresh air to me.
I 100%
It definitely
agree.
felt like something that I could show to friends that don't watch anime, or even someone like my dad. Like I honestly
Yeah,
felt
I feel
I
like-
could show him this. It was
Almost-
like, this seems great.
Mhm.
Yeah, almost anyone can watch this and have a
Mhm.
good time with it.
And it's
And
very
especially
accessible.
with the strong English dub, it makes it access even easier.
And
Oh,
it's,
yeah, definitely.
it's on Netflix too. You don't
Mhm.
have to. You don't
Oh,
have
yeah.
to explain to your dad like, okay, so you need this service called Verve, or Crunchyroll, or High Dive, or
So you need to buy Amazon Prime, and then you need to pay again for this thing called Amazon Strike.
is Anime Strike. Oh man, I'm glad those days are over.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember
That was
those.
that was bad.
That's
Paid
that,
twice.
that's how we had to watch Made in Abyss, right?
Oh
I
yeah.
think that's when it came
yeah,
out.
Yeah, it is.
That's
That
the
was-
Made
reason
in
I
Abyss
never
and
watched
Princess
Rage
Principal.
of Bahamut season 2 is because it was only on Anime
Yeah.
Strike.
I
So
I
difficult.
got Amazon Strike so I could watch the second season of Rage of Bahamut because I really enjoyed that show.
That was great.
Yeah, I also did Anime Strike to
I
get
like how
Made
we're
in
all like,
Abyss and Princess
I
Principal.
paid
did it for both of them.
twice. I can't believe I justified those dirty bastards splitting my anime off into a different subcategory because they're like, they'll probably pay for it, and then I did,
So, have any of the rest of you watched any of them? Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna
Anime
say,
drives
you
all
wanna
my.
know who headed that company?
Who headed the company?
That damn blonde asshole.
Probably.
Everybody calls
He
you the
flipped
blonde
us all.
asshole.
He conned us all out of our money.
It was definitely a con.
Just want to say,
Had Anime Strike still been around when Great Pretender came around and just been like on there, it would just be like they conned us. They gave us
Yeah.
a con show about conning us.
Have any of the rest of you ever watched any of the
Still watch it.
Lupin shows?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
Yep.
I've watched I think a couple of the movies.
This is a ton of DNA from that too. Like
Oh,
yeah.
obviously.
yo, like you guys like con artist stuff and scam. Like, you gotta check out Part 4.
Oh yeah,
Like-
part 4 I think is a
Yeah,
great entry.
Part
for
4 is
Lupin.
awesome. And if you want something,
I
actually,
frankly am-
well, real quick, I just want to say, like, for listeners tuning in here, like, if you really liked Great Pretender and you want to go even a little bit further down the rabbit hole, yeah, try Part 4. You know, that has also a very similar vibe to it. But if you want something a little more serious, maybe try a woman called Fujiko Mine.
I love a woman called
side-
Fujiko Mine,
Yeah,
but I don't know if it's a great introduction because it's kind of like a deconstruction sort of thing, right? Like it kind of expects you to know who the characters are. I feel like.
that's fair. Yeah, maybe save it for later. But for those listening who like this kind of stuff and maybe you want like even mature twist on it, like that is a great show.
It's
So,
a wonderful show for sure.
I
Yeah.
also have
Lupin
a
the Third.
recommendation.
yeah, it also like it has those same elements of hidden parts here and there you didn't really notice until you get to the end and the whole mystery kind of reveals itself. And then you rewatch the show and you see all of the stuff you didn't see before. You're like, oh my god, this was here all along.
It's those sorts of things that kind of make me want to watch through
I'd have
more
a
of the Great
disturbing
Pretender
thought.
and just see if there was stuff that I missed that was let on earlier about.
I
like,
know for a
what's actually
fact that there's at
happening.
least one thing I missed in the fourth case, and if we get around to the fourth case, I'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But on that note, let's kind of wrap back around to just talking in general about the first case and the actual plot of the first case. So, first case, we have Edamura just being small-time con artist in Japan until he has that encounter with Laurent. And that sets them on a course for basically for him following Laurent back to America to try and get his chance to take revenge on him, just kind of one-up him back for having gotten him. And then that's where everything just spirals down with Laurent just casually bringing him in on a job and suddenly realizing, like, oh crap, this is a mobster. We're going to be conning a mobster. How is this going to work?
This is a higher level of risk than I normally deal with. The worst thing that could happen to me is I could get roughed up a little bit, or maybe the cops get called. This guy will put a bullet in me in a back alley.
He just shoves him into it too, right? Like, he doesn't even tell him what role he's going to be playing. He's just like, oh yeah, this is the doctor who designed the drug, and he's like, I am.
He's like, I did what now? And it's like, yes, you just take one of these little candies and they go crazy for it. Here, how about we get a volunteer? And he calls up none other than Abby, who is also in on it. And she goes bonkers.
What an introduction.
A very good animation for just that first episode.
It was super weird. It was really offsetting for me at the time watching her freak out like that. I was very like disturbed by how wildly she reacted to the candy. But then as you get to know Abby throughout the show, you're like, oh, actually that actually put on isn't too far off from the mark.
I will say that for some reason my small brain didn't even connect that she was in on it until like they actually revealed that she was in on it.
Oh really?
I'm like, wait, was the drug? Did he just have one piece of the drug? And then the rest was candy? What's going on?
I will admit that
small brain.
The only reason I figured out that Abby was into it was just the framing of like how her character was introduced. I think there was just something about the way when she came in that my brain was just like, oh, she's part of the crew. I don't know why, but they communicated that to me somehow through the direction.
Mm-hmm. For me, even when Abby kicked him in the face, like karate kicked edamame like backwards, I still didn't think that she was in on it. I just figured she was a weirdo.
Yeah, no,
very possible.
I did think it was possible that they were doing like a power suggestion thing, right? Like, give them this candy and tell them it's great drugs, and they'll go crazy.
Yeah, well, okay, so like when I rewatched the first season with Ed, the first episode, Laurent, he eats the candy while they're in the car in Japan, headed towards the airport, and then puts the candy in his backpack. I saw that. I'm like, wait, I didn't see that first summer Ed. I was like
I saw that. I'm like, wait,
Japanese candy. Totemo oishii. Totemo oishii.
Yeah, so once you know that it's just candy, you're like, oh my god, he gave it away immediately, like a pro, and he didn't even connect the dots.
It kind of surprised me that Edamura thought that it was actual drugs, because it was candy that, like, he saw the candy already, you know.
Yeah, but he just wasn't.
Yeah, but he did wake up. He did just wake up on the Hollywood sign, so I think I'll give it to him to be a little discombobulated.
Yeah, I mean, he was thrown into that role quite.
Which also, by the way, they totally wouldn't have gotten to the Hollywood sign. That thing has a protection detail, and like people fuck with that thing all the time. They would have never gotten that close.
But it looked so cool.
Was it this year or last year when someone snuck up and put the big sheets on it so it read Hollyweed or whatever?
That is true, but I have a feeling there's a lot more planning involved in that one.
I'm just gonna say this. Laurent's IQ is over 500, so he could have
Yeah,
done
I was
it.
gonna say. I guess he just
All
smooth
according
talked
to
his way up. He was like, "Oh no, we need to be here," and they were like, "Oh, okay, I guess." And
The
like, did he
number
just-
of contacts
Very
that we find
convincing.
out that Laurent has around the world, it wouldn't surprise me if he had someone that is just like, oh yeah, going up for a little visit.
Oh, what's up, Laurent? In Russian.
Yeah.
Secret Russian spy that goes way back.
No big deal.
Just watching the Hollywood sign.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
not fair.
after Edamura wakes up on the Hollywood sign, he's completely in on it now. He's got nowhere else to go. And so he's declared a confidence man that is now in league with Laurent.
And he still wants
And-
to get one over on Laurent too. At that point, they have the bet going.
Yeah, they still have the bet going. He's trying to figure out how he's going to do that. And after saying that he wants to leave, that he's going to go back to Japan, on the way through all that, he kind of comes up with an idea. He's going to take this one last shot to try and get back at him. And so he puts together an overnight plan to basically direct sell the quote-unquote drug to
Is it Castano? Is
Castano.
that his name?
Castano.
I wanted
I
to
was
say
blanking on his name there for a second.
I wanted to
Castano.
say Costanza.
Master of poetry.
Oh yeah,
And
Castano. God, I love that guy.
He shows his conning expertise and actually gets Cassano to go along with it and doubles the amount of cash that they're going to get out of the deal. However, what happens, everyone?
It comes at such a big cost.
What happens? What did they do?
Edamame has to become the drug dealer.
He has to become the
He's
Sakura
drug
magic.
maker.
you
Oh yeah,
cannot just
I'll
sell it.
sell
you
you
have to
this. I'll sell you the recipe if you double the price. It's like, all right, this works. Oh wait a
He
minute.
appeals to his the
By the
artistic
way.
sensibilities of Cassano.
Yeah, because Cassano at this time, he may be running the mob, but he does have some like, just artistic flair with his like B movies.
I really did enjoy.
Hey, those are masterpieces.
Yeah, which apparently Edamura actually did in fact like.
I enjoyed this show with pretty much the exception of the third case. All of the villains get like some level of humanizing, and the show is like, yeah, these people are human. They have their own fears and loves and their passions, but they're still bastards, and so we're still gonna trick them.
Yeah.
It's like that doesn't get, just because we feel a little bad for you or we connect with you a little bit doesn't mean that you're off the hook.
The difference is
Yeah.
just the third arc villain is an ugly bastard.
He's,
Oh.
he's
He gets his head stuck in the fence. That's my favorite part. Buys the painting and then tries to
Oh,
sell it
right,
off
right.
to Farah, the rich lady. It literally gets his head stuck in a fence. What
I
an
remember
idiot.
that.
But yeah, Cassano has that passion for the films is so genuine, and Edamura clearly connects with him on that.
Mhm.
And it's an asset and also a huge landmine.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was playing
I
with
think
fire
that's why
there.
the show's so
But what really
he
makes
was playing with fire and then ended up getting burned because now Cassano's taken such a liking to him that now he wants him to make the drug.
yeah.
Oh.
You would have thought that making friends with a mob leader would be a lot more fun, right? But
Yeah.
no,
I mean, the mob leaders that I know are much cooler.
it's fair.
Yeah, same.
I kind of want to know. They had that scene where they had the fake out where it made it seem like Cassano was onto them, and he has the bat. I wonder what
Mhm.
the accountant did.
Yeah, I kind of
What
want
did
to
he
know
do?
what the accountant did to him. He's like, oh.
That's
Because in that
trope.
moment, like, there was still, like, that first case still had a lot of tension, like we were talking about earlier. Like, you really didn't know if they were actually going to be found out before everything was over.
Yeah, I
and
didn't know
done.
if this was gonna get real dark and people were gonna start dropping. If we were gonna go like Breaking
Like,
Bad
that
or whatever.
moment there with the bat had me really, like, just kind of, like, shaking in my boots. It's like, oh, crap. Did he figure it out? Did he catch on that something's
At
up?
that point, I was I was definitely like, is this Lupin or is this Black Lagoon? Like, what?
Uh, we did mention that the main character and Abby, their dynamic is kind of like Rock and.
They have a Rock and Revy
Revy.
dynamic for sure. Yeah,
They definitely do.
I
will
like
say-
Abby more than Revy. Okay, I just want to say Abby,
they're both
Abby. Okay, you know, like she was kind of weird at first. I didn't know how I felt about her until end of second arc. Third arc, Abby with the long hair, perfection.
I love the
like-
horseshoe crab one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked her hairstyle in that one. I'm like, yes, this is good. I'm officially an Abby fan now.
Okay. Can I just say that my favorite part of Abby is she just flips everybody off?
Yes.
Oh yeah, she's just
It's
flipping
very
her to everyone.
Because I relate to that so hard.
A lot of people flip off a lot of other people in this show. I said to Ed,
It's
I was
very
like,
common.
the Japanese people, do they really know what the middle finger's supposed to mean? I
Well,
see
think
it.
they know very
before
well.
They
I see
definitely
it
do
so
now.
much.
Done very well.
See it so much in anime.
I think it doesn't have. I don't think it has the same. Like I don't know this. I don't live in Japan. I'm not super familiar with Japanese culture outside of anime, but I feel like it doesn't have quite the same. It's just sort of this like punky thing that you do, like sticking your tongue out but edgier, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have the same vulgarity
I mean,
over there.
when she
Get
was in
that
the
swearing
plane-
without upping your rating too much.
They're like
When she was
VTubers who just say
playing
"Walk you, walk you." Like,
Yeah,
oh.
no, it's like he's in the eye. Fuck you. I touch more. Fuck you.
It's just like, it's offensive, man. What were we talking about?
Oh, the bat scene. I did want to give my own take on that. I am the complete opposite from you two. Like, it was very clearly the trope of someone's been found out, and I'm looking right at you, main character, but it's not you because that's
Too soon.
like it was
It's
too
too soon.
obvious. So, like, I don't know. To me, it just felt very tropey.
I guess to me, part of the reason that I think I bought into it was that I could not believe that they were talking about the scheme in the bedroom of the bodyguard, whose name I'm blanking on at the moment.
So,
Oh, that's a good
Jester?
question.
Something like that.
Salazar.
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 Yeah,
Salazar,
that's what
yeah.
it was.
I could not believe they were talking about this game in his bedroom. Like, guys, homies.
Oh my gosh, the
Come
teddy bear camera. It's like, dudes,
Yeah,
even
Teddy Bear had a camera and it had a whole audio recording set up as well. Like
you,
he knew
you clearly
everything.
didn't even check this room, and like we didn't even know about the teddy bear camera yet. But like, even regardless, like Salazar's somewhere in the house. Do you know where at the house?
they call themselves confidence men.
Plot twist: Laurent knew the whole time.
Yeah, maybe.
Lo- Laurent
It
definitely
wouldn't
likes to
surprise
play. He likes to play risky games. He's like, you know what, this whole thing's going way too smoothly. I gotta mix it up a little bit. Here, let's just
Very
talk about our
funky
plans.
chess.
It kind of makes me wonder with this first case, because after all of this is said and done, when Edamura gets them kind of deeper in the hole than they were originally intending on, it kind of makes me wonder if Cynthia was always meant to be a part of this con, and how everyone else with the FBI police unit, if they were brought on afterwards to basically clean up Edamura's mess.
That seems very possible. Yeah.
It seems like the most likely.
Because
Then again-
ultimately they did get the 10 million that Edamura had tried to get out of him before, but
Didn't
they
they
got it
get
in
more
a
than that?
bit of a different way by
Yeah,
conning him into thinking that he was making a deal with.
They got
They upped
10
it,
for
yeah.
the initial. They got 10 for the initial con, and then they got 100 for
Yeah, it was 100
the
million.
payoff.
That's what I
Mhm.
thought.
They conned him out of 100 million when they were able to make him believe that he was dealing with an actual FBI agent, like a famous female FBI agent. But
Which
in
was
reality,
really
it was just
risky.
Cynthia.
It was
Based on
super
the
risky.
conversation in case 4, I would say that she was definitely brought on after Edamura was brought in to be the drug maker.
Who was?
Cynthia.
Cynthia.
She was brought in to clean up Edamura's F up. Because the conversation in case 4 went something like, "Oh yeah, he does his own thing," and then we have to kind of improvise.
Case 4 is kind of weird. We'll get to that soon. I think that Case 4 is the one that we really will want to talk about the most. So let's kind of like just flip through the next couple cases.
Yeah,
here.
we'll kind of speed from.
Go ahead.
We'll kind of speed through cases 2 and 3 here because we kind of got like this setup out of case 1, but I kind of at least want to touch on some of the mood and the character developments that case 2 and 3 do bring us, because case 2 and 3 are focused a little more on Abby and Cynthia.
I do like how every case focuses very heavily on one character's backstory.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah, definitely. I wasn't expecting that, and it really felt genuine. Made me care about these characters, not just the main character, but several of them that all come together to make the cons, the schemes work. So it really made you feel like you were dealing with a full cast.
Yeah, with case 2, with how everything played out, Laurent brought on someone that he knew had a history with the Army or the Air Force, or however it was, and he knew that he had involvement in the war that kind of wrecked Abby's country and kind of sent her down into the kind of the war-torn path that she actually got.
We call him the blonde asshole because he knows all this stuff about everybody, and he just goes ahead and does it. You're like, what's going to be great for Abby? If I bring back the person that literally ruined her life, the person that created the whole iceberg that was her life up until this point.
Sure. Over Edinburgh real hard in that beginning there too.
God, Edinburgh like literally leaves everything behind. He's like, I just want an honest living. Yeah, let's become a mechanic.
To try and pay his debt to society. He turned himself in. Why did he go through 2 years of prison?
He went through 2 years of prison, got out, and he's just like, all right, I'm good. Now I'm going to go work at this job because I was offered it. And then it turns out, no, that was just Laurent this entire time, just stringing him along.
Laurent set up that, like, Edinburgh with him working on cars in prison. I'm convinced. Just so that he would find interest in it and then go to his connected freaking plane.
Is Larant Aizen?
Kinda.
Oh my god.
He may as well be.
I was actually gonna bring this up in case 4. I think his dad is more Aizen.
Yeah, kinda.
He does have that brown hair.
Ubiquitous planning stuff.
He's like, by the way, I'm the mastermind behind everything.
Oh yeah. I got hot takes about his dad too. I don't like his dad.
We'll get there.
I don't either.
Yeah. So
I really enjoyed with this one the dynamic with the two brothers.
Yeah. Clark was
cool. The one.
Yeah, Sam and Clark.
That they felt very real.
Yeah. Clark was definitely like the power hungry one, whereas Sam just kind of
No, it was Clark that was the cool one. Yeah, Sam was the marketing
one. Just kind of wanted to be a pilot, be a kind of a playboy kind of thing. He's like, and just kind of just like live his very rich life. Whereas Clark was definitely more in it for like the power and also just kind of like really running things, just being in control.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, they screw him over. But the thing that I was more focused on with this case was just the dynamic with Abby and Edinburgh, and just them actually just kind of talking things out and just kind of
they bonded,
getting to know each other, and just like bonding and stuff,
they
and just
closer.
kind of trying to get Abby to be in a little bit better place than she was, 'cause she was pretty crazy in that case. She went through the boxing ring setup that we had early on in that case and just went ape on her opponent despite it being a rigged match. She got very dangerous in the planes, she was just a woman that was living on the edge, just nearly on the edge of just wanting to die, it seemed like.
I think more than on the edge. I mean, they straight up said that what she's looking for is a way to die.
Yeah.
Laurent said that, I think. Laurent, excuse me.
PTSD, hell of a drug.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of survivor's guilt, especially with her.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
I mean, PTSD doesn't hold a candle to soccer magic, but it's a little bit hard to get off.
I mean, edamame is the best drug maker in the world, so.
Oh man,
Yeah,
I still can't believe they got out of that. Man, I was convinced they were gonna die.
Like, I
Laurent
actually
and
thought
Abby
they
getting
died.
shot. Yeah, I mean, Laurent, Abby,
And
they
I'm
both
like,
got
wait.
shot.
How is the rest of the show gonna go? Wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, again, like what I really like about the writing of this show with every single case is that I feel like the writers, they just kept writing themselves to a deeper and deeper hole, and they're like, okay, we gotta write ourselves into a situation where we don't know how we're gonna get out of it, so we have to get really creative with how we get out of it, because that really keeps the audience on the edge of your seat. I never knew what was going on with the show. I could not predict what was going to happen
See,
next.
The way that
it
they could
seems
that they
that
could
way.
get out of it could be as complex as having a pretend FBI ring, all the way down to something as simple as just having some tinted windows.
Yeah,
and a
just
fake monitor.
just straight up
Yeah.
gonna lie about who won.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like it didn't matter in case
That
two which one
seemed-
of them won, because Abby.
I loved the way they got that one.
Yeah,
I
the
loved
actual
the
pilot
tinted
didn't
glass.
actually end up winning,
Mhm.
but
But Laurent had
Laurent just made a
considered
little bit of
that was a
insurance
possibility.
and just put up some tinted windows so that way the fireworks would turn a particular color, and then they just faked the video broadcast to make it seem as if their person had won. They took all the money and ran, and by the time that by the time Sam had figured out he had been duped, it was already too late.
Well, not quite.
Not quite.
Because Abby and
Jennifer
Edinburgh were
and,
still in the hotel room.
And Laurent
Yeah, they
didn't
went
tell
back-
them. He didn't tell them, and they go up
They
there.
didn't tell them, and they had to jump out of the skyline, out of the hotel room, and actually
I'm not sure
parachute
you can
down.
actually do that with a parachute just out of the side of a hotel. I don't
Yes, you
think
can.
that's how that works.
It's called base jumping.
Yeah.
Is that tall enough? I don't know.
People base jump from
Pretty
like
tall.
100 feet.
Especially considering that Abby going off the side had no idea that she was going to be pulling the cord. Maybe they do jump from 100 feet. That was not my impression. But
Those were some tall ass buildings.
I am not a base jumper.
Well,
I
at the
mean-
very least, they weren't landing on concrete. They were parachuting into water. It's still going to hurt, but they're at least going to be better off.
Yeah, they didn't end up like Lewis. That dude literally flew his plane to the ground.
Yeah.
I
Shit.
mean, he lived.
He barely lived.
They
I mean, is it really even
live.
technically? Because at that point afterwards, he wasn't even really living a life.
That's his own fault, though.
It's true. It was like Lewis was such a jerk. I don't think I ever really came to like him.
Yeah,
Like,
He really was.
Yeah, I mean, like, and he did have a bad turnout for his story. You know, he was just kind of doing
Ultimately,
his job, but
He was
still,
well written, but I still don't like him.
yeah,
Like,
Yeah, I
the
agree.
thing is with Lewis is that you didn't really need to like him, but as far as like his character
Yeah,
in
no.
terms of his interactions with our characters, it didn't really matter if you forgave him or not, because ultimately they didn't know specifically if he was the one that caused any of Abby's grief. He was just a part of the army, part of the Air Force
And I
that
think that's
did bombing runs and stuff,
I think
and
that's heavily
he got
the
joy
theme.
out of it. But ultimately they're just like, okay, I don't know if you're actually the one that did anything. I'm going to move on now, is the bigger thing. It was more for Abby's character rather than Lewis's character, because Lewis in the end still ended up being a bit of an asshole
Yeah.
afterwards.
I mean, yeah.
and we never saw
Well,
him
that's a
again.
different
Thank
character.
goodness.
Yeah, and then we never saw him again.
But I did like the moment that Lewis and Clark had after the race finished. You know, they
Mhm.
both connected because Clark never wanted Lewis to end up like that.
Yeah.
They even reveal that, yeah, like Clark directly challenged Lewis. He's like, I want to have a real race. Of course he would. He's a pilot. Like if your races are always fixed, then you don't feel like your skills actually amount to anything. So, but I also feel like Lewis might not have ended up as badly maimed, just not as badly if he hadn't like grabbed Sam by the throat and been like, "Fuck you." Maybe it would have got a little bit better.
No, see, then he would have just died. He wouldn't have been maimed because suffering.
That's fair. That is totally fair. But yeah, when they revealed that part about Lewis, I was like, yeah, I don't like this guy. I just don't. So, but I love the design of the air race. Just want to say that. All the mushroom-like towers that they have to fly through to get to the end goal, and the fact that were they trees? Okay.
Well,
maybe
they're
trees.
like an artsy installment of trees, but yeah.
Okay, and like they light up at night too. And then the goal line is literally a building that they have to fly through. Like Edamame says himself.
Building that is actually in Singapore, and this is not actually the first time that I've seen this in anime. Like that specific building has popped up a couple of times in anime.
Awesome, even better. Again,
I think the most recent time that I've seen that particular building was in the anime A Place Farther Than the Universe. They actually go to that building as well. Yeah.
Yo, they do. That's right. I remember.
Over from Singapore on their way down to Antarctica.
And that's where they tried the the ice cream. The what kind of fruit was it?
It was the durian.
Durian ice cream. Yeah, they try it there. The stinky ice cream.
Yeah, the terrible fruit. Like they have, yeah, they make them actually eat durians, but it's even worse.
Yeah, we'll have to do another podcast about that show someday. Place Farther Than the Universe.
It was interesting just seeing that building pop up. I'm just like, this is not the first time that I've seen this building in anime.
Again,
like, it's just like a staple of like Southeast Asia. It seems like
Great Pretender really doesn't feel like many other anime, and that's just another reason why it pulls a lot of elements from the real world, and then plays those into its own narrative.
Absolutely, yeah. There's I was reading they didn't do a whole lot of like location scouting for this just because I did think they didn't have the money. But they one of the I forget it was the director who was talking about how they were just Googling LA like furiously to try and make it as real as possible. And he said something along the lines of in this interview, he says, there might be some things that aren't right, but if you see anything that's not correct, just it's an anime, enjoy it anyway.
Yeah, it's like just roll with it, dude. It's fiction. Like there's no Laurent, unfortunately, as brilliant as he would be in real life. He is not.
But yeah, so that's how case 2 ends off. And then we get case 3, which case 3 is a personal favorite of mine. I actually did like how case 3
satisfying.
It's my favorite one too.
It was a very it's the shortest of the cases. It's only 4 episodes long, but I think it did the best with its themes and its overall characters and everything.
Feels like the most tightly knit.
Yeah, it feels like the most tightly told story, and I think it works better because of that. Because this case was all about exploring Cynthia's past, and it also is the one case where Edamura is not actually dragged into anything.
Oh yeah, he's the one who wants to do it.
He's the one that actually comes up with the idea. So the whole case starts out with them just kind of chilling in France. Edamura trying to have another job, just trying to see if he can get into the groove of just not being con man mode, just being normal person. And he's having various levels of success with his new job as a what was it? It was like a sushi chef. It was like a sushi shop.
That's what he was trying to do, and they're like, "Oh no, we don't need any more Koreans. It's okay."
Yeah, it's like I'm Japanese.
I'm Japanese.
But he's staying at this little inn that has a nice, I think it was like a father-daughter pair, and he enjoys the atmosphere there, and he enjoys everything that's there. But he sees that they're running low on money, and he can't really speak French either, so there's kind of a bit of a language barrier. But he sees a little painting over their over their fireplace, or over there, like up on a shelf, and he says, "Here, sell it to me for this amount. I can do something with this." And so they do, and then he goes off and asks for Cynthia, Abby, and what was the older guy's name?
I can't remember his name. Yeah, his original
dealer.
con mentor.
Yeah, his original partner. I'm blanking on the name. Oh my
Who?
gosh.
Who are we talking
I
about?
can't remember.
I'm lost.
Which character? The partner.
The old man
The
that
short
he
old
originally
man
partnered
that
with
was
before he met Laurent.
Kudo. Kudo is
Kudo,
the guy's
yeah.
name.
Oh man, yeah. That the show somehow got me to like Kudo. I really didn't
Kudo
want
was
to.
Considering his past sins, that should be hard to do.
Yeah. Kudo was actually not that bad of a character. But he gathers them all up to pull off a con to just try and get a local, not a local, an art dealer that he's just heard on the street, just looking out for art, and they're going to try and con him out of money.
Because he dissed the sushi at the chef's place. He was super
Yes,
happy about
that's
it.
what it
Like,
was.
they decided
Yeah.
to close down because he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get him."
Yep.
Rookie mistake.
He's like, I'm going to get him.
Edamame.
I'm going to take out 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm going to get him back for dissing this sushi place, and I'm going to get these people some money so that they can keep this nice little atmospheric inn open.
Mhm.
And so they go about doing this. But unfortunately, upon Cynthia seeing him, she realizes, oh fuck, I know him.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the worst fuck up that they pull. I think that the next fuck up is the worst fuck up they pull.
Yo.
Cynthia getting recognized. Cynthia getting recognized wouldn't have been an issue. He'd have been like, I feel like I know you from somewhere. He doesn't know her as a con man.
Yeah.
He knows her as a former lover of one of his employees who wasn't a big fan of him. So I mean, it's very possible.
Wasn't a fuck up, but more just a case of like, oh no. Now I'm angry because I actually know this asshole. And things proceed to spiral out from
That's
there.
the moment where Cynthia gets much more invested in this. Which, by the way, rewatching the 3rd arc, I remember at the very beginning, Cynthia, she's just watching the ocean while Laurent is painting a picture of her. And she says, like, I hate painters. You know, like, don't. And, I mean, now we know why. But there's just all these little things like that. Like, if you watch the show once, you watch again, you can kind of see what Laurent is planning. When other people can't figure it out, you're like, this son of a bitch. No wonder nobody likes him. Did you really have to do it this way? But, I mean, everything this whole show does leads up to the 4th arc, you know. Even when it was, like, for Abby's sake or for Cynthia's sake of, like, helping them surpass their traumas, it was also training Edamura, which, like we said earlier, this 3rd arc, Edamura actually volunteers himself to take it on. Like, he acts out of his own desire for the person. He thinks
he was led to it, but
I say that
masterminded the whole thing.
like this was all his idea. I didn't really see anything in case 3 that suggested that Laurent had any
Except
of this
at the end when Cynthia called him out on it.
Yeah, she did.
If you
Totally.
remember, not only did Cynthia call him out on it, but if you remember in the beginning, the only reason that he thinks to use the painting is because Laurent and Cynthia are sitting there talking about what artist they think it looks like. And they introduce Edamura to this artist that he's never heard of before.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah.
Shit. Now this is making me want to actually go back and rewatch the show to see all the things
should.
that I missed.
They're just planting subliminal messages in this poor boy's mind. Again, like, this is why, like, yeah, sure, I said at the beginning of this podcast, Laurent is best girl, but actually, there's some pretty solid reasons for why you wouldn't like him either. Because sometimes it's like, dude.
I will say that Edamame does think he's doing it out of his own. He's not like forcibly, obviously dragged into it. And
like he was.
He's not. It's the most subtle of all of it.
Yeah.
Like, he's definitely more willing to do stuff because he wants to this time around.
Right. No, he's definitely taken charge in this case because that his motivation is entirely his own, even if the path he takes was planted.
Mhm.
Yeah. But it doesn't take very long in this whole situation for the plan to no longer be his own, and Cynthia completely takes over because after they sell the painting, oh look, it turns out to be an actually rare painting,
And it was
it's worth
way more than they
loads of
quote
money.
unquote
So-
fleeced him for.
Lost so much money.
So much money.
I think Emora sold it for like a mere fraction of its actual
Yeah, it was like
worth.
20 something
Yeah.
when it was worth like several million.
A blunder that could have been avoided with Google.
Again, like the fact that these guys keep using their real names too for their aliases with some of these cases, it's like, Google's a thing.
Yeah, but none of the people. That's the nice thing about conning criminals. No one's gonna be like, "Hey, my criminal empire got conned by these dickbags." Like, no one's
Yeah.
gonna put that on their
Sure.
Facebook.
And it's confirmed that this show takes place present day because of the whole like Abby's backstory with Baghdad. So
Yeah, and there are tablets everywhere anyway.
yeah. So they're very ballsy.
But I don't think that they're much on the grid, honestly.
That's
I guess
true.
there's not a lot of pictures
Most
taken
everything
of
that
them.
they do is in cash.
Yeah. But they're not like James Bond smooth, clearly.
Imagine if like they used fake names, but because they use fake names all the damn time, they screw up what name they call someone, and then the whole con
yeah.
is screwed up.
That would also be bad.
I mean, how many people named, Abby or Cynthia are there in the world?
Those are pretty generic names nowadays, so that's not a bad point.
And edamame, come on, I know like 10 edamames.
I'm Ed, that's the start.
I'm just gonna call you
Case in
Edamame
point.
now.
I'm down for
That's your new nickname. Go change it right now.
it. Cynthia's last name is Moore, and that's my last name. So
Hey.
I'm all over this.
Wow, the show was
Yeah,
made
no,
for you.
Cynthia was probably definitely one of my more favorite characters just because of her whole backstory with her old painter boyfriend. And this is one of the this whole case, just especially with the music that they played during a kind of montage with her just kind of sitting there while he painted her portrait.
Paint me
Just
like
it
one of
just
your French
really
girls.
really felt right for the whole situation.
Mhm.
And I just really like the fact that so afterwards we find out that the art dealer guy that bought our painting now, Cynthia knows him from before when he basically employed her boyfriend to make counterfeit paintings. And way back then, they were doing fine, just kind of scraping together wherever they could, but just having a pretty good life. But let me tell you, lifestyle creep is a bitch, and that shows in this case because her boyfriend gets lifestyle creep like none other, and she calls him out on it. But the thing about this case is that at the very end, she's basically become the same thing, and he equally calls her out as well. He's like they both ended up in that same space.
I think I like that he made a fairly reasonable point. I felt like when they were having their argument at the dinner table the first time when he was getting too highfalutin, because he said like, how long am I supposed to survive on eating canned beans? Like,
Yeah.
sure, we were making the best of it, but I was basically starving. Like, how long do you want me to wait for my supposed big break? I have a way to make money here, a way to stop having to live in squalor. And I felt like that was at least somewhat legitimate. Like, I don't agree with the course that he took for it per se.
It was definitely legitimate, but the case that Cynthia was making against him was just like, you've got all this, but at what cost?
Mhm.
It basically cost you your just like essentially your soul and all all this, like, you're not the same person that you were when you started out with all this passion for painting. And she kind of is fed up with that. But in the end, when they meet up again years later, she's become a con man and has these same lifestyle creep, highfalutin aspects to her as well. And there's an attempt by Edamura to try and get them back together, but the thing that they do in this that you don't really see in a whole lot of shows or stories is that they ultimately decide, like, no, we're just too different at this point.
What they had
And
was
this-
broken a long time ago, unfortunately.
what we had was broken, and it's not
What they
coming
needed
back.
was
We can
closure.
be good. We can be good with each other and be fine, like forgive each other and everything, but we're not getting back to that point. And they move on.
I
And
appreciate
that's something
that.
that don't yeah,
Yeah.
it's something that you really don't see a whole lot of.
Yeah.
Frankly,
In-
Cynthia loves her current life. You know,
Mhm.
I mean,
Mhm.
there was nothing that was turning her away from that. She definitely wasn't going to leave it for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no reason for Cynthia to go back to the life that she had before becoming a con artist. So, yeah, I really did appreciate that she and her artist friend did not get back together. They acknowledged what happened. They said, well, we're already both so far down our own paths. We're just going to keep going. You know, maybe they'll stay in touch or something, but they're both their own people.
Yeah.
One of
So-
the prevailing themes of this show is like forgiveness and growing past. Like
It sure is.
literally
They-
just like letting go of the past. Because if you see the comparisons between Laurent and Cynthia, they both have a memento from their past that in the end of their arc they toss into the water.
Mhm.
And it's conveniently a ring.
And they're both a ring.
Oh my God! It is. Oh no! Oh
I
no!
think
It's
it's
got-
just
At the
Abby
same
has
Yeah.
one
time,
memento in that little
This freaking show.
that ballerina medal as well.
oh,
yeah.
you're right. She
Yeah,
does.
show is
all of them
nuts.
have
They all
some
have
sort
these
of
physical
memento.
reminders.
Oh my
Edamura's
God.
got mementos via those
Yeah.
little
Yeah, the capsule
toy,
toys. Oh, I
those
wanted,
little capsule toys that he always
Yep.
carries
I wanted
around.
to say,
Everyone has a memento of their past.
I love how the capsule toys, like, even Edamura mentions that they're kind of fortunes, but they all, when he gets one, it kind of has something to say about the current arc. But I have to say that I don't know who Edward VIII is. I did not understand at all.
You do. He's your past life, Ed.
I looked him up, and the most prominent thing I could see is that he married some like American divorcee and scandalized the royal family.
Well,
Excuse me.
Which arc was that during?
That was during the third arc.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know crap about history, so every single time he pulled out like a gotcha figurine, I'm like, you know, I bet that's thematic symbolism for something. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna know what it is. Frankly,
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
Japanese. I don't know this dude. Sengoku
Did you
Basara,
bring
I've
up-
heard of that guy.
And each character, like aside from Cynthia and Laurent both casting into the water, each one kind of like, well, at least Abby and Edamame, they I think keep holding on to their mementos.
And I think, people hold on to their mementos until they're ready to separate from it. Oh, I wanted to say in regards to the story being about forgiveness. On the other hand, I think in a lot of ways that it's not, because like what I was saying before, it humanizes a lot of our villains.
Yeah, no.
Particularly, I mean, we haven't gotten to the fourth arc yet, but particularly in the fourth arc, and then it's just like, no, sorry, the stuff that you did was too bad. You can't come back from that. We're still gonna get you.
Right, forgiveness, but not necessarily
Letting them off the
forgiving
hook.
is the central theme.
Mhm.
Yeah, like these
Yeah,
people who did
but-
these
but-
things, they're still gonna get theirs. You know, it's just going to be in a way where after they get theirs, and it's like, okay, now you're forgiven.
Like I think it tries to delve in that forgiveness is not so black and white.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Which I love.
and that's
I-
I
yeah,
like that too.
That's
yeah.
a good way to put that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very gray area. There's a lot of hardship with it. It's not an easy moral to live by.
It's not you forgive or don't. There's gray areas.
So real quick, just want to say I gotta figure out how I can acquire that song for the London arc. Like, where can I buy it? Because it's so good. I want to listen to it right now.
The soundtrack's out. Are you
It's
talking
out?
about the one with the vocals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's out.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
sweet.
soundtrack's available.
Bruh, I'm gonna go buy that as soon as possible. It's so good. Here's the thing: is that the plot could be shit. The plot could be awful, and like it just doesn't develop characters. But if there's really good music to it, it's still going to give me feels. I'm a sucker for
All right,
cheap
we're
emotional payoffs.
We're
So
gonna
I'm
go
buy
fix
that.
all the worst anime with that song.
Dude,
Every time you watch a bad anime, just play that song in the background.
play that song while I'm
100%
watching the
better.
ending to School Days.
Oh god.
All right. And with that, I think we're now finally going to move on to talking about Case 4 that we've all kind of been poking and prodding at
Yeah,
this point.
I
'cause
I
this
vote.
was-
I vote this time we skip the synopsis for the fourth arc because we all kind of know what
Yeah.
happened in the fourth arc. I just
Yeah.
want to talk about my emotions with this because it's a hard arc to watch. Not just because
It
it's
really
9
is.
episodes long. Good gracious.
The very first episode goes from 0 to 1,000 in terms of the fucked up meter.
Dude, the second, so, he's traveling with his new boss, they're driving around, and then all of a sudden
In
he's on a
Taiwan or
camel,
wherever.
and you're like, wait, he's not in Japan anymore? And then they get to, is it Vietnam?
I
that they
think
went to?
it's either
Yes, it's
Vietnam or
Viet-
Taiwan.
It's Vietnam where they buy the first kid, I believe.
Yeah. The second that you see the children, you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
As
Suddenly, we're in child trafficking
When-
territory. It's like, oh.
It's a little more
Trey,
intense than
why
a
are you
painting.
why are you watching if you don't know what happened, Trey?
When you go
Yeah,
into
Trey, we gave a spoiler warning way ahead of time, man. Come on, catch up with the stream.
Well, we did also say that at this point, if he had been watching this
Yeah.
far in, there's no going back. May as well hang
There's no
out.
going
So
back. Sorry.
he made
We're
his choice.
when he
spoiling
had the
show.
interview with his new boss, and the boss says, "Just don't get caught again." I
Oh,
yeah.
immediately
Yeah,
knew something
as
goes
soon
up. He said again,
As
Red
soon as
phone.
he
which
said
means he's
that,
expecting you to do some scamming or something.
as soon as
Like,
he said that, I was like, oh no.
I like there was a whole season. There's no way that his job he finds isn't in some way connected to Laurent or going
I thought
to
maybe this was going to be the
become a
finally
bad
the time it
situation.
wasn't, but then he decided to break away and actually join of his own accord for whatever reason, or
I guess I
stumbled
could
across
see
something.
that. Except I think that would be out of character at this point in time.
Yeah, so once also it's funny how Edamame puts together the dots of how he even got there.
Yeah.
He's like,
Scarlet.
He's been through this enough. He's been through this a couple times now that his mind just kind of starts rewinding. It's like, wait a minute, they mentioned it there,
just
and then I
subliminal
saw a poster over
messaging.
there. And then the reason why I even came here was because I saw something in a magazine that was laid down next to me. Damn it! No.
Yeah, you're fine now.
Okay, yeah, I think OBS disconnected, reconnected. But we should be good. Yeah, I really punching somebody in the face, that's the least you could do for them tricking you into joining the Yakuza.
Joining a
and a child trap.
ring.
Yeah.
Dude, that's not cool.
There was, I saw some debate about this online, so I just want to put this out there because there was some question about whether or not Edamame actually became a child trafficker in order to go on undercover. And this is one of the things that I missed, but then was revealed to me later. When he is at the auction and he's like actually selling the kids, Cynthia is there in the audience. And the camera doesn't focus on it, but she's there in the audience, and she's the one who's buying the kids, which is why later on that kid that he blatantly sold in the epilogue is there. So for the record, he never actually child trafficked anybody.
Okay,
I
that
was
makes
gonna
sense.
say I don't know how I could have. I was like, I feel like I would have fucking broken as soon as they were selling kids. Like, there are a few things that rile me up more than like slavery.
That's a hard line to
So here's the
cross.
thing.
Slavery. Like,
Here's the
I'd be
thing that
like,
I'm going to
don't
put
worry,
towards
boss.
that, because
Let me
even though
hold the
it was
gun.
so even though it was in fact Cynthia that took that kid in, the problem was that as far as Edamura was concerned, they were dead. He was broken. He was in mental shock after that
That's
the
what we-
director woman
that's-
actually had to pull him out of. And for 2 months, he was willingly a part of this operation. For all intents and purposes, yeah, he was a child trafficker.
I will say, in his like weird defense form here, that he didn't really have much of a choice at that point. I mean, he had just executed his father, been put
You
in a
always have a
situation.
choice.
I mean, you say
But he
that,
was so deep. It's the
but when
Yakuza.
you are-
Hey,
when
death
you
is
are-
a choice.
when you are destroyed beyond any emotional component that you've ever been before because you thought you just watched your two close friends die, and then you put a bullet in your emotionally distant father who you told the plan, which ended up getting your friends killed, and you had to kill him, and you're working with child traffickers, I don't think there's much of it. Like, I don't think your brain can even remotely fathom what the fuck is going on anymore. I think at that point you're just choosing the path of least
You mean
resistance, which is to exist.
you guys haven't done that?
No, I
Not
haven't.
yet.
But only the once.
I'm open to new
That's
experiences.
like every Sunday for me.
You
Bro.
need to stop. You'd think people would stop adopting you.
Hey, what can I say? I'm pretty convincing.
He's good at first impressions.
What can I say? I just got a face that everybody loves.
Ruh-roh.
I loved the flashback stuff. I loved getting to see Laurent's past. I love Dorothy as a character. I think was just a lot of fun. And I loved seeing how far
What about
back
Orphan Stray?
the old woman went with them. I can't remember her name.
Shion.
And I probably should have seen his father being involved with them. But
Yeah.
I didn't really at all until that point. You know, with I just thought that there was this huge moral failing of you know this that he was this moral pillar for Edamura, and the fact that he failed and everything was just to set up his character. I didn't realize that we were going to be getting into this really deep, long-running plan.
So so here's my hot take, because I think that was a good time to bring it up. I think
Yeah, now's a good time.
I think Edamura's father should have been the moral failing that he thought his father was.
I can agree. From a storytelling point of view, I can completely agree with that.
I think it would have been the greatest challenge for the theme of forgiveness that the show had been pushing all that time.
Yeah, like
Because it is inevitable. You will sometimes meet people in your life who are so incredibly hard to forgive that nothing they do is redeemable.
Mhm.
So I wanted to see what Edamura would do in light of that. I actually wanted him to kill his dad. And when he shot his dad, I was like, yes, his dad's a piece of trash. He deserves this. His dad, they would have saved the kids if it wasn't for his dad betraying him again. Like, clearly this man cannot be trusted. But
There's
anyways.
a big part of the theme of that arc also, I think, was how Edamura being undercover, you know, in this Yakuza group, how it was changing him significantly. And I feel like that would have been a big line to cross. I think that Edamura as a character could not have come back from that.
yeah.
If he had actually killed his father. Even still, I mean, he went through the motions of it. You know, he thought he did.
It would have also been like, consider this. Edamura starts off as, you know, the straight guy. You know, he is a con artist, but only in the smallest sense. He just needs money, you know, but he never actually hurt anybody. But this whole show details his slow descent until he gets to the worst part of it in Arc 4. And he kills his dad. And yeah, he doesn't go back after that. He becomes the villain that he was afraid he would become.
That would have been, to me, that would have been such a dramatic right turn for the series, which has dipped into the darkness and come back out. I don't know if I would have liked that very much at all.
Yeah.
Personally.
It's fair because the show like does maintain a lighthearted attitude at times too. Like, it deals plenty of heavy hands, but not to the point of consistently being dark and dramatic. So that would have been
the closest that we actually
It's marked
got
as
to,
a comedy, which I will just say, like, was kind of the only thing that kind of kept me holding out a little bit of hope for some people sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, like
the,
we need that comedy in this show too. Like, there are plenty of moments where, like, I felt like I needed to take a break from the show, but then they make a joke that kind of brought me back into it again and be like, okay, let's just keep watching.
I will say at the beginning, episode 1 of part 4, or case 4 or whatever, I saw a very I'm pretty at least noticeable of these things, but it was an instant mood change because it went straight from child trafficking to fuck it, Laurent set me up again. And then like you can hear the music, the tone, the color, everything changes dramatically as soon as he's like, it was Laurent.
Mhm.
And we needed that break. Like we were just told that he's in a child trafficking ring. So it did it very well.
As
But
far as
it
the
very-
overall tone is concerned with the show, like those middle 3 episodes of this 4th case dealing with Laurent's past and Dorothy and Shion and Oz as a con man ring, that was the closest that we had to the feeling that we got from the previous 3 cases.
Yeah,
that
it
was
did.
basically for the people that wanted more of what the previous 3 cases were. Those middle 3 episodes were for you.
And they helped lighten it a little bit because it had gotten so heavy.
Yeah, because we had just come off of
emotionally
all 3
laborious.
people being killed and just dropped in the ocean.
Yeah.
Oh
We were
Abby
met in the
and
middle.
Abby and Cynthia got shot and fell off the boat. I'm like, oh no, maybe they're alive, maybe, but it was
The
hard.
thing
it was
is,
hard to
though,
watch.
is that with this sort of show, you've already pulled the fake death stuff in case 1, which means that instantaneously your audience is already suspicious of anything dealing with death.
At this point, especially there was enough of the show left that I didn't really think that it was gonna stick. But I will say that they did a fairly good job of setting up the tension, the atmosphere at that point, because while we had already done the fake death thing, they did a lot to make it seem like this time it had actually gone very wrong.
Yeah.
I think that would have been an interesting progression for the show. It's like, yeah, by this point in Arc 4, Season 2, the audience is already kind of thinking about fake deaths because the show has set a standard for it. Then the show, again, misleads you by saying, essentially, this is not a fake death. They actually are dead this time.
Yeah.
So again,
and
you really further confused.
You have this kind of slight feeling while you're watching those middle 3 episodes dealing with Laurent's past that, oh wait, maybe they are in fact somehow dead, and we're going to be finding stuff out about this, because Laurent's past and then those first 3 episodes of this arc, they heavily parallel each other in their setup.
It's like almost the same boat.
It's almost the same boat. It's basically the same con with the princess and everything. It's like
they're pretty much a thematic duality.
Yeah, it's thematic duality that's going on there. And then all of a sudden, at the end of episode 6 of Case 4, Dorothy dies, and it just kind of caps the whole thing off. But then we go into episode 7, and we're shown that no, in fact, they're actually alive, that this was all planned out, that they were fake bullets or like something.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, come on.
Where they had blood.
Come on.
I have to say, most of the fake deaths didn't bother me, and like most of the script revivals didn't bother me. But the one that I actually thought was legitimately very cheap and did not feel earned to me and did not feel like it fit was at the post credits.
Here it comes. I know.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Should we save this conversation?
I suppose we should.
We'll save it for the very end.
We'll save it for the very end. We're almost there. Almost there.
But
Okay.
I also want to touch upon the Yakuza lady. The leader of the Yakuza. I'm forgetting what her name was. I'm forgetting what they called her. But just call her the leader, basically. So
Suzaku or something like that.
Akemi Suzuku, I think.
Yeah,
Suzuki, that's correct. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, like she is your typical evil Japanese Yakuza leader. Like she's just very nasty and treats everybody like shit. But then
she gets her boy toy.
no, that's not how I was gonna word that.
Boy,
Don't
boy,
say
she
it that
gets-
way. Do not
gets
say
a
it that
sock.
way. This was a
Makoto.
mother-son relationship.
They spent more time humanizing her than any of the other villains.
I
they
had to
really
be.
spent a lot of time
She's
humanizing her.
selling people, so I was like,
Well, see, that's exactly the
Them
thing,
kids.
right?
bitch, you
That's why
sell
at the end
kids.
it doesn't work.
Yeah, and
because
it's
she's
hard.
right there
It's really
talking about
hard,
the
man.
types of the children she's
No,
selling.
it's not.
It's really
bitch,
hard.
You sell
No.
kids. Get the fuck off of me.
It is a problem. It's a big problem. So here's the thing: is that I kept thinking that the whole time. I'm like, look, I gotta remember, she sells kids. She's just the worst of the worst. But the
She's talking
second
about she wants to go back to a normal life, and I'm like, yeah, but she's still
Yeah, but you're
wants to
selling
retire
kids
to a normal
get
life
to
with
that
her fat
normal
stacks of
life.
cash she made from selling children.
Look,
Dude.
I know this.
Bitch, you
This
sell
whole
kids.
show's about forgiveness, but
Oh,
you sell
fuck her.
kids.
that is a high bar for forgiveness. I just
Can we
want to
can we
say
get
though.
one of Abby's middle fingers up in here and just being like,
Oh, yeah, just-
nope.
I just want to say that when Edamura's dad slashed him across the chest and he was supposedly dead, and the Yakuza leader's screaming his name, Makoto, Makoto, I may have nearly cried.
It's sad.
I thought it was the way that she said his name, the heartbreak in it. This woman was experiencing heartbreak for a second time.
Good.
It just they did a really good job at humanizing her. All the stuff with the cats, and she gives him the tie that used to be her son's tie. She
That's
really
definitely a thing
latches
for this
onto
whole
him.
show, is that they're horrible, but they're still human, but they're still horrible.
Yeah. So I gotta be honest with you guys. First half of the arc, I hated her guts. But when they started humanizing her, I had a really hard time not liking her.
Yeah.
Because they did so many things to make her out to be a motherly character, and Edamura misses his mom. So
Yeah.
I do believe that some of the moments he had with her where he gifted her certain things, like the cat hairpiece that his mom used to have, those were actually genuine moments. Because
And when he pulled
think
the
that Edamura
sword
partitioned it.
from her chair, you really got the thinking that it's maybe he's actually going to betray all of them. I was kind of
I
half wondering,
legitimately
it's
bought
oh
it a little
shit,
bit. I wasn't
is he going to try to turn this around such that he's the only one that gets the money, or is he legitimately going to turn on all of them?
Yeah,
I couldn't really tell either way in that moment.
Mm-hmm. And I was also thinking, the one thing he probably wants above all else is a mother. He probably really misses his mom that much that he probably wants that more than the money. And considering how we were led to believe that being in the Yakuza was really breaking him down as a person, this was a slow descent for him. It wasn't overnight. He was in it for months, apparently. So
Yeah, and
2
Edamura,
months?
we've shown in parts 2 and 3, Edamura is very easily influenced by the environment around him.
Yeah, for sure. So it could have been possible that he had just decided to betray them because he wanted a mother figure at the end of the day. So I had a very hard time not liking that lady by the end of it. I hate to say that, but it definitely touched me a little bit to see that connection that the two of them had.
The thing that ultimately comes down from this, though, is that they could have done everything that they did with this fourth case, and it could have just been generic Yakuza and maybe even selling more drugs or something. It's they didn't even need the child trafficking is the problem. Is that they could have done this entire arc and they didn't need it, so it didn't ultimately even matter, which is kind of where this is kind of
I don't know.
weird for me. It's just there wasn't
Yeah.
any point to it all.
There
we
needed to be
went down this
something-
very dark road when we could have gotten the same effect even without them.
I
I
don't
I
think
disagree
that's
with that.
true.
There
Go ahead.
needed to be something truly unforgivable that was attached to Suzaku, I think, in order for it to make it okay to give her the same punishment as the guy who killed Dorothy. I think if she was just dealing drugs or just doing normal Yakuza stuff and wanted to get out of the Yakuza business, I don't know that I would have felt as viscerally with her getting her eventual comeuppance. I think I would have even maybe felt bad about it. I think you needed something that was truly horrid
Like
Uh,
literally unforgivable.
for her to offset all the humanizing that they did with her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think for the capstone antagonist, and due to the theme of forgiveness, you had to have the character that is truly unforgivable.
That's a good point. Because forgiveness is not just something you can give out to other people all the time.
And like, I'm not gonna say my stance on like drug use or anything or selling drugs into communities, but it doesn't even hold a candle to human trafficking. And
I
like,
agree with that also.
Yeah,
and like
I can
there's
see
plenty of
that.
people
Yeah.
who argue for drugs, and they have their reasons, but I don't know a single like redeemable person condoning child trafficking.
That's kind of a circular argument anyway, because I feel like if someone condones child
Yeah,
trafficking,
like,
I'm immediately going to think they're irredeemable.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
It is a good thing to note, though, that we could have removed the child trafficking entirely from this scenario and kept everything else the same.
That I guess
but-
I'm saying with the child trafficking is that it was really only a thing in the first
Yes.
3 episodes.
Yeah, it was not
and then
present
it was
later
kind
on.
of forgotten about. I guess that would be a better way of putting it.
It was
Like I
more
said,
about the
I don't
money.
agree with that either, because it's they're still talking about rescuing the kids up until, well, I guess that's the first couple episodes. But then later on, like he's Edamura running the auction. Like I guess that definitely shocked me.
That was what,
like a line
episode 7?
across. That was a big part of that.
Well, I think that
I will say that oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, you can go ahead first. It's fine.
Okay. I was gonna say like it kind of had to be in the first 3 and not super prevalent throughout, because the middle 3 was, the flashback. Like,
Yeah.
it didn't have it because it didn't need it. The story wasn't about that. It was the past story, so it didn't really need the human trafficking, but it did kind of bring it back. And I think they didn't focus on it so much because it didn't need to. It got the point across. These people deal in human trafficking, and it, like, at the end of the day, it is a comedy. They got to keep upbeat. If they keep showing these depressed like kids,
Yeah, it's
I'm
gonna
not
be like
laughing.
It's gonna be like the crime lord from California, just like repeatedly bashing you with the bat that says like depression on it.
Mhm.
Like
like-
eventually you need a break.
It's there,
Um,
but they have to have the break from it.
Mhm.
Like, they can't just show it.
Right.
Constantly.
But I still agree with Spencer, and I mean, like, this is pretty much the truth here, is that the whole second season is divided up. Maybe not divided up, but it's segmented by that past story with Laurent and Dorothy. So you forget
It's
about
just a structured
you
story.
forget about the child trafficking for a bit, and when we go
even
back
with
to it,
even with the second third of it, those middle 3 episodes with Dorothy and Laurent, like, they make their final hit on the Chinese side of this ring, and they also say it's like, yeah, he deals in kids or whatnot.
yeah, like it's
But
still
ultimately,
there, but
they're shown is that they're just going after the money, and the kids mean nothing in any of this to them either.
Except Cynthia adopted a kid, and that was part of the pro.
Yeah, they like found foster homes for all. Like that was the epilogue.
yeah, like I don't think Spencer
and
is
the
like
father.
I don't think Spencer is like not acknowledging that, but I think what he's trying to
Right.
say is that, the focus of the show still shifts, so suddenly you're thinking more
It's-
about
it's
the money.
I guess
about revenge
I guess
and
what
money
I'm
than
trying to say
saving
is
the
that if you're
kids.
going to use something as big as that, you need to give it more emphasis to it throughout it, rather than just having it at the beginning and then having the little bit in
I
the
guess I
epilogue
could see
about
that.
getting
No, that was
foster care.
Yeah,
Because
that's
as far as
after the
Oz is concerned, I really don't think that he should have been redeemed. I really think that he should have just
Died.
had it out. had it out. Like, I don't think that he should have actually come back from everything with the way that he's been, because he was a complete and utter asshole.
Yeah, I mean, like, his dad was still like a good guy at the end of the day, but what I will say is he was not around for his family regardless, and
He
did
was there
not
for the
did not
mother,
tell his
not his
son
kid.
literally anything. If he told his son some of what was going on, his son wouldn't have suffered so much. Things wouldn't have gone the same. Edamame wouldn't have done what he needed to do to wrap
But
everything
then
up.
he
but
wouldn't have even if his father had developed his character before the Case 4 timeline, then he would have had the guts to not stay in that shitty company and not infiltrate it to the level he did so they could take it down.
It's true. It's true. I'm not denying
He
that was
Aizened it.
important. Fuck. what I'm trying to say.
Honestly, I don't know that the show wholly does redeem Oz. I mean, if the big final showdown scene, when Edamura is trying to fake them all out. I mean, he tells them his real thoughts, and even afterwards, we're like, "Hey, you had me going there." He's like, "No, that was all legit." I forget exactly what the line is, but he said something along the lines of, "No, everything I said is exactly how I feel. You're all fucks."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, rightfully so. Of course he'd be mad.
Yeah, I think that's.
So, yeah, I'm just saying that regardless of Oz's good intentions from the beginning and how things turned out, he still was a pretty crappy father because he was just not there and did willingly torture his son. So, that's still something I can't really jive with, which is why I don't like him, and I don't think I ever will.
Yeah, I really felt he got off kind of easy with his kid. Like, I can see what his plan was and everything, but I think what really got me was the whole leaving Edamura for that 2 months to really believe that what he had done was real. Just like dropping his kid to this level of kind of willingly working with this group.
Yeah.
And then he really got off pretty scot-free.
Like, I would have been more okay with the whole situation had Edamura, like, within like a few days after found out, no, they are in fact alive, but we need you to still be in this thing. You're going to be selling off these kids, but you're going to be selling them off to us. We're going to be getting them out. Like, I would have liked more integration that way, and just treating Edamura with just a little more respect and not being just the punching bag that he was, I think is my big issue.
I don't know. I guess
because I don't feel like he really, like, the show really showed us. Because afterwards, like, he pulls off his little stunt. He shows up Laurent, and then he's just okay. But I can't get out of my head that for those few months he was well and truly broken, and just suddenly turns around. Like, it's a really big turnaround.
It is, and we don't really get to see Edamura, come back from that depressive state he was probably in. We're led to believe him until the last.
A lot of time passed, but
a lot of time did pass.
But maybe we as the audience haven't experienced that time enough.
Yeah, I think that if we had just seen a bit more of his progression back into wanting to complete the plan, it would have been more believable.
And I guess part of the reason is because they want the audience to not know what Edamura's motivations are during that big final showdown.
Mm-hmm. I'm not disagreeing with how the writers did it. I'm just saying, like, this is why I still don't like his father, is because we just didn't really get to see a lot of justification in Edamura's perspective for what his dad did. We didn't get that progression. It just kind of gets revealed at the end.
I guess what I'm saying is that I would have just done it different, and that's all I can really say. Like, this is the way it was. I can see what they were going for, but I personally would have liked to have seen it a different way.
So,
fair enough.
Can I ask what everyone thought about bringing back our 3 villains from the previous arcs?
Oh, it made no sense. It made no fucking sense.
Like, it was funny, but I don't think I was a big fan of. It seemed like
very
it
unearned,
kind of undermined their comeuppance and everything. Like, I get forgiveness, but they really shouldn't be all buddy with them. Like, oh, what was the point of the other arcs then?
Why would Mob Boss come back and help them? He lost 110
it didn't even
million.
Have to be him. Like, it could have been anybody. He could have hired literally anybody to do this, but it seemed like
it from
weird
the
to bring
first
that guy
arc
back.
guy. I could see it from him just because he had a rapport with Edamura, and because he clearly is still going to continue to live his life. How he's going to continue to live his life.
I'm kind of upset he got out of prison so simply, though.
Yeah.
It doesn't
it
really
just kinda
feel like they
happens.
screwed them over effectively.
That is
When it's
the
like, oh no,
American
they're
job.
fine.
Oh,
That is the
especially with
American
the art guy, I feel like
He was an
should be
ass.
okay
Like
on a big
even
yacht
yeah.
and everything.
All right.
like yeah, he seems like he'd be the least able to recover. I guess he could have sold the picture and everything, but
I'm gonna drop. It's been fun.
Oh, okay. All right. Catch you later, Kevin.
all right.
So,
Farewell. Yeah, I think that was my big thing. Was just having them brought
Yeah.
back seemed kind of out of place. Like it struck me
Especially
as
when
like kind of undermining.
when the second and third arc villains didn't really have anything to do.
They were just sort of there.
Yeah, they were just there.
They even said we're just there. Like it's like, oh no,
Yeah.
we're not part of this. We're just here.
Yeah, they're just like, pay us no mind.
That
And,
just
like, I
seemed
can
like an
see-
in joke more than anything.
I can
Yeah.
see like the mental path to the first guy, sort of kind of forgiving Edamura and using it as a way to get one over Laurent. But the other two, I really just don't see how they could all be buddy on the boat. And yeah, like you said,
Yeah.
hanging out with-
I'd expect some vindictiveness there.
Yeah.
especially the third guy.
Oh yeah.
Like, like Sam. Yeah, there was no redemption.
Like there. Yeah.
Like, there's no way that would have happened in my eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just felt really like it felt like they didn't get the justice we thought they got. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
they're
like,
fine.
it's like
Cool.
I agree.
by the first
Yeah,
cases.
so are they really
Haha.
excused of what they did? Because they did some pretty messed up stuff. All of
There's
them.
forgiveness, and then there's all is well. We're friends now.
Now
Yeah.
that's something else I wanted to mention, kind of in tie with how we forgave Edamura's dad so easily. Anime does this a lot, where
Oh, yeah.
it just forgives these completely unforgivable sins that these characters commit.
Do you want to talk about
Dragon Ball Z?
so much shown in anime and just having your villain just becoming an ally?
I hate
soon
that.
afterwards?
I absolutely hate it when I see that.
Now that you're best friend.
It works sometimes, but it is way done over much.
What, are you gonna tell me that Tsukasa and Dr. Stone becomes a good guy later on? Are you kidding me? It better. I mean, probably, and that's what makes me mad about it.
I
I
have
mean,
a
the classic
big
example is obviously Vegeta.
Evangelion tries to make you like Gendo
Well,
in the
first of
end.
all,
No, it
don't bring
doesn't. I
Vegeta
guess I
into
didn't
this.
feel that vibe.
Okay, well, it doesn't
Vegeta
try
is
to
a
make you
damn
like
good
him, but it tries to make him a bit more human with the whole like stuff that he promised
yeah.
Shinji's mom.
see
But
the-
I'm like,
The-
I don't
the
care.
reasons that he did it all, but like that's the thing is that it's this human desire that's. I mean, that's a whole different show, not the one we're discussing, but it's been twisted.
I'm just
to
saying,
dark-
like, I hate it when I
That's
see
like-
things like that. I'm like, I don't want this character to be humanized. There's such a shit, especially when it's the parent. When the parent is the villain in a show and series, because that also happens a lot. Like,
I do have a very specific soft spot for when like the first boss comes back to help the heroes in the end. I love it when that happens in Air Gear. I love it when that happens in Tenjo Tenge.
I love it when it's done well.
Usually the early boss is like less of a complete monster
Yeah,
than
he didn't
later
do
bosses.
anything
It's
too
like, oh,
awful.
okay, you can be forgiven.
Mhm.
I think one of the things that this is kind of another anime thing, and this is probably more for the sake of having an enjoyable show, but I don't really know if I believe that Edamura could have come back to his previous personality as much. I feel like
Yeah.
if you get stuck
Yeah,
and if you fall so low, you like legitimately and willingly become a human trafficker for months. I
Like-
don't think he would have recovered. Like I feel like he is permanently damaged, at least for the foreseeable future, and he
That
seemed
makes
like he got over that too easily.
yeah, like literally, like when they were doing the flashback of how it actually played out, like after he was slashed and like, cause he did have that breakdown with the sword, and then he was sliced, and he's just like, okay, I'm good. What's
Yeah.
And
up?
then goes
Like,
over.
I
and
sold
pulls lever.
children. Like, I tried to sell children anyway.
I do think that it does make sense for him to have come back from some of it, because I do think that a big part of at least how I've never been there in real life, right? But like the way that it's portrayed in fiction usually is people get there, they do something, they do something they think is unforgivable, something they can't come back from, and then they will continue down that path because they think they don't have any other choice or whatever, because that's the choice that they made. But when it turns out that none of the sins that you committed actually turned out to be real sins, like nothing bad happened to anybody that you thought you hurt, then I could see coming back from it a little easy. I do think that it is a little unearned. And I do think that if I had one big complaint about basically several points in the last episode, they would all come back to the word unearned.
Yeah, I guess I agree with like him. Yeah, a lot of the guilt would kind of be less intense once he realized he didn't actually do it. I think kind of what I maybe didn't like was the fact that he was as okay with everybody else as he was. Like, he yelled at them and he called them all out.
Mhm.
I kind of feel like it seems like he might have wanted to cut ties with them more though, because like they didn't, like, they were willing to let him believe all this. Like, it was for their personal vengeance here. They were willing to like sacrifice his emotional well-being, and they had no way of knowing he'd come back.
Like,
Yeah.
when you
I
go back
absolutely
down
agree
the
with that,
line,
yeah.
like when you go back down the line, like if in later parts of his life, you get to the point where it's just like he's gonna constantly be kind of looking over his shoulder. It's like, did Laurent set this up? Is this part of some plan that I'm not aware of? Because it's happened multiple times now, and that just kind of makes a person jumpy after a while.
For sure.
And the thing is that the very end of this show kind of sets up with Laurent just kind of teasing himself being at the White House, or being on like a presidential like election
Yeah, he becomes a diplomat.
ceremony. It's like, oh man, what's this con? They're just teasing us with this, and I kind of want to know what's going on. It's like,
I do.
like I'll be real. Like, as much problems as I have with this fourth case, if they made more Great Pretender, I would absolutely watch it, because I
for
had
sure.
so much fun with the first three cases. Like, as
On the
much
whole,
problems as I have
yeah.
with the fourth case, I would gladly watch more of this.
I did
Yeah.
genuinely enjoy the majority of the fourth case. I do think that it kind of
And I
didn't
even
wrap up as nicely
enjoyed
as I
like
would-
the middle part of it, dealing with Laurent's past and dealing with Dorothy's cruise. Like, I thought that whole thing was fun. That was great. So like the bulk majority of this entire show, I really enjoyed, and I would gladly recommend this to other people, even if I have some thoughts on sticking the landing at the end
Yes.
for the ending of the show.
Can we talk about the post credits yet, or should I still hang on?
Oh, yeah.
let's
So
talk about
I
the
guess-
presidential
post-credits
thing, the presidential thing,
Okay.
quick. I'm pretty sure that was intended to be the actor from the guy's films, the chopstick dude. I think that was supposed to be him.
Oh,
I think you're
Pretty
right.
sure that was the
From-
crazy actor
Yeah.
had gone and become president.
Isn't that
I read that on Reddit.
character?
And that feels like an America joke.
Not Steven
Like
Seagal.
Yeah, it
actors
feels like
becoming
an American
president
joke.
or like governor, like Arnold Schwarzenegger type Reagan. Like that felt like kind of an America joke.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I can see
absolutely.
that.
100%.
But
That was a call out.
That character, the character that I can't remember the name of the actor, but
Steven Seagal.
yes, yeah, exactly. He's definitely a Steven Seagal.
Oh, yeah.
inspired
very
character.
much.
Very blatantly.
So that I thought was funny. It's like,
Yeah,
is this guy?
I had to read up on that because I was like, who the heck is that guy at the end supposed to be? And then I saw on Reddit somebody, like a lot of people on the subreddit for this show were asking the same thing. They're like, who is that
Yeah, I did
man
the
supposed to
same thing.
be?
I'm like, this is
Comes out of
clearly a
left field.
joke.
Yeah,
What
but
is it happening?
It's just a joke about America, which we'll take it. It's well deserved by this point.
I mean,
So
Yeah. The post credit scene.
post-credits.
Post credits.
the
I
least earned.
I hated that.
I
fuck.
hated it so much.
Yeah,
I can't stand
It
it when they do that.
It
I
invalidated
saw
the
the white hair.
justification
I
of so much of what
instantly
happened in the
was
fourth.
Oh yeah.
Come on.
Dorothy will be back in Infinity War.
Dorothy will be back in Infinity
It's like,
War.
dude.
Just let people die.
Dude, yeah, just let people die. I know this is supposed to be like a lighthearted kind of like heist show, sure, but can we let some people die and stay dead?
She was like the
First
only.
moment we heard
Yeah.
Dorothy's name, we already knew she was dead. Like, you don't
I
have to
wanted
bring her
to
back.
stay dead, because it removes so much gravitas
Yeah.
from all of Laurent's
Nice word.
situation.
It undermines
Absolutely.
a lot of what he
Like,
went through.
It undermines so much. It undermines the entire revenge plot because she's actually still alive now. Is like it just undermines so
Yeah.
much. Just that scene of just having her still be alive, and also her somehow getting that ring back because he threw the ring out in the ocean.
Yeah, what's
A
the
fish ate it, and
symbolism?
then the fisherman somehow gets it
What's the
and then
point?
gives it back to her.
He's trying to break his ties from her. That's the point. Is he's like
Yeah.
letting the past be the past, and then the epilogue is like, nope,
The past
Yeah.
is in the future. Welcome to the
God.
sequel.
The past is the future.
He,
it was
he,
very.
he let it go. He crossed the boundary of, I'm going to let this past go. Goodbye, Dorothy. It
And
is
there was
so
no
unfair.
point.
The whole
not-
forgiving yourself theme as well.
Yeah.
Like, let it go.
Let it go.
And
Wait.
I think a lot of time when when people do that in very like Hollywood-esque or mass market stuff, when they're like they it's because they don't like believe in their audience that they can handle it or whatever, that they're gonna
Yeah.
get upset or whatnot. But in this case, I don't think that was ever going to be an issue.
Yeah.
Everyone who watched the show has come to terms with Dorothy's death at that point. Everybody.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
knew
and
she was dead.
before this came out, when
Absolutely
Lo-
no
at the
thematic
end of
reason for it.
season
There's
one-
no literary. There's no reason for it.
It's
There's no
purely
reason
a
to have.
sequel hook, if anything.
there is somehow a second, like a legitimate second season of Great Pretender, I really hope that Dorothy just stays effectively
she's not even brought up.
metaphysically
Just
dead
don't
with
come
all
back,
her memories
yeah.
gone.
Yeah, just
I
don't come
hope
back.
that they just leave her alone and they just
Doesn't
let
she
her
have
let her
amnesia?
live on as
Yeah.
that. Just let her be
And
on,
listen,
on her own.
I love the character. Actually, she was one of my favorite characters.
Oh yeah, she was a
despite
great
the fact that she only-
character, but I
yeah.
want her to stay dead if
That's
you're
what
going
I'm
to
saying.
kill
Yeah,
her.
like I love
Her
her,
bangs
but
are
still,
too short.
leave her be. Leave her where she is,
Yeah,
preferably in the bottom of the ocean.
Give her a different hairstyle, please.
give her mermaid hair.
Because that's the
In
other
the
thing is
water
that
long enough.
this whole show, like whenever something ridiculous happens, we always get an explanation for how they actually managed to pull it off or how they managed to come back from it.
Also, yeah,
That doesn't
She was
exist
saved
for
by a
Dorothy.
mermaid.
How did
Because she was
Dorothy get
loaded
out?
up with like weights and stuff such that she would drop to the bottom of the ocean. She was legitimately shot. How the hell did she survive? There
Yeah.
isn't any
She was
way.
saved by a fisherman.
She was covered in like metal, though.
Like
She
within
would've
4 minutes,
sunk.
before she ran out of breath, the fisherman just pulled her out of the water and nobody noticed.
Well, he would have had to like dive down to the bottom of the bay and grab her and pull
Dead
her
body
back out.
float.
But she had like stuff tied to her still.
Yeah,
She had like
that's
the
what the
metal
weights are
boxes
for.
still on her.
You forget, it's plot armor.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Oh
see.
no.
That's the thing is the plot doesn't even have any reason to armor her. There's no
She's
reason for
already
her to have
dead.
plot armor.
She's
That's the
pre-dead.
Stop! She's already dead.
Yeah, I definitely don't like that she was brought back. I almost feel like she was brought back.
Just to
Like-
open the possibility for a season 3.
Well, I was
I
gonna
don't-
say
I truly
like
don't understand.
to almost like just to like not play it like different. Like every single death in the show was like, haha, it's not really dead. And I feel like they're just like, let's just do that.
The only one who
Remove
legitimately
the
died
one
was his
legitimate
mom.
death for the entire narrative.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Just
find out his mom's not dead either.
She faked her
over
death.
there
She was
and
in
is
on
like,
it too.
Because she was.
Like, hey,
She also knew. She knew the whole time what his dad was doing, and she didn't say anything either. She's also in on it. She's also alive.
she didn't know the whole time. She only
she
knew
did.
briefly before she died.
Well, yeah, I guess so.
That's
Did
I
she?
kinda-
Okay, she only knew briefly.
Yeah, it was briefly.
Okay, I thought
'cause
she
you
knew
see
the whole
him
time.
walking into the hospital room after.
Yeah, I'll
Edward
talk
leaves
to her,
him.
but like
It-
right before she died.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily outright said if she knew beforehand though, so I can't want.
Well,
for
when
certain
Well,
Oz is
say-
at
actually,
her
now-
grave, he says, "I'm sorry that I asked you not to tell him about
Yeah.
anything," implying that when he went
Yeah,
into the
but-
hospital room, that's what he was saying.
And right after that,
It's-
chronologically, right after they had their talk, they have the conversation about the wizard.
Yeah.
And she was like, I actually like wizards, you know?
Did
Yeah.
she did she before like that time like specific scene bring up forgiveness though? I
I
can't
believe that
recall.
was the scene. I'm not
Yeah.
100% sure. I'd have to go back, but think that was the scene where she brought up forgiveness was when they were talking about the
'Cause
I
liver.
think a lot of
know
what we saw of his mom
before
was around the
season
same
4,
time.
Yeah.
or case 4, she was on about forgiving as well.
Yeah, that was the
and
scene
I
because he
don't
came back
remember.
into the room with her laundry and stuff.
Yeah,
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was the scene.
and I mean, I don't think she knew when like he got arrested because she just straight up fainted when she
Yeah,
heard.
yeah, no. At
That's
that
true.
point, she didn't know any of that.
I swear, if she comes back in the next season,
She's not.
I'm done with
She's
this
well and
show.
truly dead.
I'm done.
She just had
I am
amnesia,
done with
bud.
this show.
Standing at her grave, I'm pretty sure he thinks that she's dead, and since he's mastermind bullshit planning of everything,
Aizen.
I'm pretty sure he'd know if his wife was still alive.
He's Aizen. See, that's part of the whole plan. He faked her death. She's off in some magic, like.
I don't want the second season of the show to be a Quincy War. Okay.
Edamura's mom was Dorothy.
No,
all
we have
along.
to have a filler season of Bounce first.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I personally do not want any more of this show because
I will
I
say,
don't want them to ruin it.
If I see more of the show, I don't want it to focus on the same characters. I want it to be like now Edamura is like the guy who's showing the ropes, and we have like some other character who is the main
Yeah,
focus.
it could lend itself quite well to kind of like an anthology, just like going on with new characters. It would work pretty well. And
Yeah,
then having
I'd like that.
occasional cameos with some of our other characters like Shion and
Cynthia,
make
Abby.
Cynthia the old
Abby
Shion
and,
character.
old
Don't do
man
this
whose
to me.
name
I
I'm
don't want to think
forgetting
about that. I don't want to think about that. I like Cynthia as she is. The fact when they reveal Cynthia's 40, I'm like, she don't look 40.
Well, she's glad that you said that, Andrew.
Well, I mean, like strip Sam, the dude from the air race, just
Sam
like
and Maria.
completely like insults her, like just
Yeah.
over and over again. I'm like, dude, she's not that bad. Come
I'm
on.
not a
got
misogynist,
pissed.
but
I'm not a misogynist, but at that moment, I'm like, that means you're a misogynist. Great.
I mean, he clearly is.
yeah, clearly.
And Dorothy calls him out. She's like, dude doesn't like me because he's a freaking pedophile.
Not Dorothy, but Cynthia. But yeah.
Or Cynthia. Yeah, Cynthia said that. Yeah, so it was... Yeah, I felt bad for Cynthia sometimes. Almost as bad as I felt for Edamame.
Yeah.
Because they kept ragging on him for his English.
Yeah.
It sounded fine to me.
It sounded fun to us.
Yeah. But I have to admit, if the whole English dub was that first 10 minutes of the show,
Oh, right.
like, I would have died. I probably would have stopped after like first episode.
Yeah.
Because it was
I
really
would've enjoyed that.
dragging
I don't
me
know.
out. Like, it was fun.
It was a
but-
fun little thing for like a creative movement for like for that first little bit of the episode. But when they switched over, it's like, okay, yeah, now we're getting serious here.
Yeah, like I exhaled a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. There's a lot of people out there begging for another season of this show. I've seen kind of like smaller news outlets make guesses about what a third season could be like. And yeah, I agree with you guys. I think that we should tackle new characters, have cameos from these characters in the first couple seasons show up. Because what really helps Great Pretender be a good series, what helps it all come together, is the character progression of each of these main characters, like Edamame, Abby, Cynthia, and Laurent. But after you've done so much character development for all of them, it kind of comes to like, okay, what do we do now? What else do we do to these characters? We can't make them relive their character development, because if we do, then it's just redundancy by that point. Which plenty of shut up.
Anime does it all the time.
Don't do it. No, that's what I'm trying to say is that so many shows do it and it's awful. So I'd
Maybe
rather
they could follow some of the kids that
yeah,
they
that'd be
adopted
cool.
out. Like we don't really know anything about them.
Yeah,
Gloria's
the kid
alive.
Cynthia.
She's gonna have her own arc.
I don't want that.
With that,
we have officially crossed the 2-hour
Yeah, I
mark.
would say.
By like 9
I
minutes.
think we
This
can
was
close this out at this point.
this-
So I want to just do a quick round of everyone's just overall like feelings on the show. If you had to put like a star or a number on like the show, whether in overall or in parts, just do a quick little just like 10-second blurb on that.
Oh, I need more than 10 seconds.
I give it a 5 out of 5 gotcha balls.
I would personally say first 3 cases 10 out of 10, last case like 6, 7 out of 10, and just overall just kind of
That's
8
fair.
out of 10.
That's fair.
I gave it an 8 out of 10 on my anime list, so I guess that tells you my number rating is.
Hey,
Yeah.
it's hard to
All in
give.
all, though, I really love it because, like I was saying earlier on, I think it's a very big breath of fresh air. It's something different. It's something exciting to look at, both artistically and in terms of the setting and the subject matter. So I really enjoyed it, and I hope to see more like this. If not, if not necessarily more of this, but more like this.
Totally would recommend to any that I see.
Trey called this show Normie Bait the Anime.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's very accessible.
Yeah, it's a very accessible show and can get
I'd
more
agree
people
on
in
the 8 out
anime
of 10.
step in the door.
Yeah, Matt, you also agree on the 8 out of 10?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It was really enjoyable. It's a very fun watch through. I think a few changes and the last arc could have been just as solid as the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
So 8 out of 10 is also your number?
No. I just with that point you just made.
Yeah.
Let's see. First case 9 out of 10. Second case 8 out of 10. Third case 9.2 out of 10.
358/2.
Case 4, I'll give a 7.869741 out of 10.
Birth by Sleep version. Final mix.
With case 4 is, aside from the post credits bullcrap, I would say is Oz, his dad. It honestly made Laurent seem less like awesome.
Yeah, it did.
Because it seemed like
he had someone above him even.
Well, just like, not that it was above him, but he was brought to be the like mastermind behind all the plans, even though Laurent is this super genius who knows 11 languages.
Yeah.
It just lessened how godly Laurent seemed. But that's my own gripe, and I love Laurent, so screw Oz.
I agree with that sentiment. I will also say, just knowing the backstory, the full backstory about Laurent, also just kind of makes him less awesome all around. I think partially what made him awesome was the mystery of like what the heck is going through this guy's head. And once we found out more or less what went through his head, it's like he's still cool, but just a smidge less cool.
I just want revenge. Like,
yeah,
that's all he wants now.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to flex on the normies. He just wants revenge.
Right. What about you, Spencer? Did you say already?
Yeah, I said first 3, just absolutely love, just like 9, 10 out of 10. Just loved it all. Case 4, lessened that down like 7 out of 10. So just overall, if I were to put a number on the entire show, just like 8 out of 10. Totally would recommend to anyone watching, even with my problems with Case 4. Absolutely fun show.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up then.
Yeah. Thank you all for staying with us here. Thanks for tuning in. This has been the Admin 7 podcast. I'm Spencer.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Bradicus.
I'm Matt.
I'm Ed.
And hold up. And also, if you haven't yet, please check out the analysis that our friend Julian wrote over the Batman DC fandom trailer. Please check out our other podcasts like the Shokugeki no Soma retrospective we did a while back, and the Rent a Girlfriend is Killing Me video. Links will be in the description below. All right, you can go, Spencer. Had to cut you off. I'm like,
everyone.
hold up. All right, bye, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. By the way, you watching this was all part of the plan.
All right, and we're done.